Com. On The Score, we bring you the best high school, college, and professional sports news for Central Alabama. Join us on The Score, weekdays, 6 a.m. on WCOV Fox 20.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's Conversational Radio Show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Hey, mister, I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a feller in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his can. I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. It broadcast me out on the radio.
Joey Clark.
Happy Memorial Day weekend. It's really already begun here this weekend, folks. Treat it as a time to enjoy yourself, a day off, but also to remember the whole point of having the day off. Remember those fallen. And, of course, there's plenty to get into at the news, but I think the biggest thing has to be, well, Donnie from the block. Donnie overtaking the Bronx in style. I'll tell you what, folks, I wish Eddie was here. He is not here. He's here in spirit today. But I'm not alone. We have both Byron Sheehy and Craig Munger here on the show. The first, I guess, grouping of this triumvirate.
Yes.
Yeah, the first time I think we've all been on the air at the same time.
But how y'all doing today?
Doing well, man. Looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah.
Still looking for that afternoon date for the PM beverages. So.
Right. Yeah, I had to say no to that today.
I had a bonkers cheat day yesterday.
Bonkers cheat day.
Bonkers. And so I am like very watery, very bloated, but simultaneously very happy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, did y'all watch any of the Trump Bronx thing?
I did. It was insane.
It was. And my favorite part of this, because everybody's deciding now, like, how should I vote? They're coming up with all sorts of reasons, like, why should I vote? Who should I vote for? And why that person? And I love how earnest people get. Like, this is the very inflection point, tipping point of the republic. Probably not. Maybe it is. You never know. And if that's how you want to vote, I'm not saying any of these are invalid. All valid reasons for why you might want to vote for somebody. You might want to prove to your neighbor or your liberal wife that I'm not a racist, so I'm going to vote for Biden again just because Trump is such a racist. That might be your rational. You're a dumbass, and a coward in many ways.
Most of those people put signs out and then secretly go vote for who they want to. But you're about, 80% of people vote emotionally?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, and I'm not saying any of these are invalid. Everybody's got the right reason to vote. So I have come up with a reason to vote for Trump. Really? I've come up with a reason. And it's a real simple one. Like, it's not that complicated. I'm not saying even, like, I could go a little more of the top, like the wrecking ball theory, that he is the bull in the china shop, and he's just going to make Washington, D.C. improvise and make them pull their hair out. But I'm not expecting him to, like, go full-on Javier Milei and really take out the administrative state. Just looking at Trump, my revenge, all this stuff, and dictator for one day. Like, and they're freaking out about it. He's not going to blow up Washington, D.C.
More's the pity.
Yeah, and I that's a shame. So that's not really my reason, though. He's the closest thing we have to throwing a human hand grenade at the ruling class. I'll give you that. He's the closest thing to that. But the main reason I want to see Trump as president is I want to see more, well, what do we call it? Dancing. I want to see more of this that I've now thrown up on the screen here. I want to see more of the Trump dance as he's celebrating amongst the faithful. This was at the Bronx, folks, and he was doing the standard, the two hands. What is that, by the way? His legs are moving, too.
The old white guy.
I think it's great.
That's sort of like Will Ferrell's dance in Wedding Crashers. Whenever he's on the couch and he's just like celebrating
And
his
he's
triumph.
picking up women at funerals.
Picking up, Mom, the meatloaf.
Death is such a huge aphrodisiac.
What an idiot.
But I could watch this all day. Just Trump dancing in the Bronx. This makes me want to vote for the guy. And I think it's a perfectly valid reason to vote for him. It's
Oh,
not
I
about
agree.
foreign policy. It's not about anything else.
Can we just someone needs to have a conversation with the former president about the length of his ties. They're consistently too long. Like, it's supposed to stop at your belt buckle, not your perineum.
Cover up that belly though, man.
I guess.
Did you say it? Your belt buckle, not your perineum?
Yes.
What was the final
You're
count up
right,
to
that
on
is a long time.
the attendance at the rally?
I don't even know. There were some people, trolls, left Democrat trolls on Twitter saying, well, look at this sky shot. There's not that many people. It was like at 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'm looking at it and it still looks like there's a boatload of
A
people.
lot more than AOC, that's for sure.
Oh, there were a lot of folks there at that event. And that's why he was dancing to, it's like, I love how he brings up the old classics too. Like,
What was the song? I didn't hear it.
let me see here.
Hopefully not Gloria.
Let's see.
You are headed for a meltdown.
Hold on, I'm coming. Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect song, by the way.
Well,
he
and
has great playlist chops.
he really does. We went through that the other
Yeah.
day. That Spotify playlist is fantastic.
I mean, it's not super esoteric, but
No.
he's for the people. He's a populist.
Well, and I love, I'm watching MSNBC, a clip from them, and it's one of the reporters at the Bronx event. And the whole time she's having to shout in her report as YMCA is going. And there's literally a Trump guy right behind her, like Bunny or YMCA. And I'm like, okay, I like the silliness that Trump brings to this whole situation. And if you actually go to some of the things he said, I don't think he's lost his fastball. This is the old school Trump. He's sort of just over the top. He loved telling the story of getting the skating rink actually finished. So I got the rubber hoses. I got the salt. They call it brine. It's gonna last forever. It's gonna be beautiful. It's not gonna crack. We had all these concrete trucks in there, and like he was in his element, sitting there in the Bronx. But then there was another moment where you're like, just especially out of context, this is classic Donald John Trump. A very classic indeed. Let's just listen in together. If my computer will cooperate.
Donald Trump, I know it. I was doing great. I was sort of like a hot guy. I was hot as a pistol. I think I was hotter than I am now when I became president, okay? I don't know. I said to somebody, was I hotter before or hotter now? I don't know. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Who the hell cares, right?
More, please.
What was the context of this?
I think it's him talking-
physical attraction.
Yeah, I think it's him being when he was younger.
Okay.
And he was like fixing up New York. He then went on, back then.
And I say, hi, Mr. Levitt. I'm Donald Trump. I know it. I was doing great. I was sort of like a hot guy.
See, that's I don't know. Does he mean like I'm physically attractive, or I was buzzing? I
think both.
I was rolling.
Well,
I was hot as a pistol. I think I was hotter than I am now when I became president, okay? I don't know. I said to somebody, was I hotter before or hotter now? I don't know. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Who the hell cares, right?
God have mercy, is he in his element?
right. Especially with all this lead in. People are like, nobody's going to show up. It's not going to be a big deal.
Do you realize like 200 years ago, he would be going town to town making bank, just selling like horse urine to housewives as a stain remover. And he would do it so well.
Well, you have those really bad stains.
You know, when your husband comes home, he spits tobacco on the floor. You say, honey, why are you spitting tobacco on the floor? No longer. This will clean it right up.
Right.
That rocket shit that the Coyote was flying on should say Trump instead of at me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly right.
That coyote's not so wily anymore.
I would kill the Roadrunner. I'd shoot him.
Yeah, he's right. Hey, don't chase him. I have.
Yeah.
This is Trump Roadrunner repellent. It's a gold can.
And then, of course, people are like, why did you accept the debate, Mr. President? Why did you accept this debate on CNN? Here's Trump explaining that.
You know, I agreed to do a debate with crooked Joe Biden on CNN with Fake Tapper And I think they'll be fair. Does anybody think they'll be fair? I might be. No. That's all right. When they said, here's your story, you can have a debate on CNN with Fake Tapper as the primary host. And I said, I'll do it. Because you know what they thought is you'd say CNN and it'd say various people on the show, various anchors, and headed up by Fake Tapper. And they thought I was going to reject it. I don't want to do it. Then Biden would say, I offered to debate, but he wouldn't do it. So they said, we want to have a debate. I'll take it. Well, we haven't even told you what the debate is all about. Then they said, today, they said, we'd like to set up tables so you sit down. I said, I don't want to sit down for a debate. Let's go. At some point, so we're not sitting down. We're going to be standing up for the debate. And here's what you know. If crooked Joe Biden makes it through the debate, which I think he will, they're going to say it was one of the great debate performances in history. One of the greatest debate performances. But there they are. And we're on every network tonight. I don't know what's going on.
Fake Tapper. I thought that was the name he gave to E. Jean Carroll.
Well, yeah, there you go. Nicely done. Yeah. But you see why? Just for the dancing, just for the nonsense, just for the trash talking. Like, bring it back. Let's make this at least a fun cycle.
Yeah, this is OG Trump. I'm enjoying it.
Well, and there's already damage control being done by, I think it was Charles Blow, who's on MSNBC, writes for the New York Times, is a columnist. He does the whole race beat, race and politics
with a
thing.
name like Blow, yeah.
And Charles Blow was saying, this is not about, like, he's not going to win the Bronx or New York. This is about signaling to white people in battleground states it's okay to vote for him because look at all the black and brown people at his Bronx event.
Good strategy.
Like, but also, like, so all these people are just tokens, AstroTurf, like, because when you looked at the crowd and all the interviews going on, it was people of all types there.
No, man. I mean, there's enough, regardless of what people might have you believe, there's enough conservatives there to be able to fill that kind of crowd.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Like in the Bronx, yeah, you'd be... You typically find those places all over where they're traditionally liberal areas, but there's significant pockets of conservatives, especially like middle class, older generation, like Hispanics and blacks. You'll find some conservatives in there, enough to fill a crowd.
Well, and he brought a couple of rappers up on stage, and he's like, "Oh, I love your teeth. I need to get one of those." It was a huge grill. The guy, I need one of those.
That's the next step.
He's gonna get a Trump
no. There were
grill.
guys like shooting rap videos there. Like, I mean, and these are, I think they looked Hispanic, all tatted up on the face and stuff, but all for Trump. Like, it's a different sort of energy. It reminds me of 2015.
Mm-hmm. You know, he's sort of moved away from his gold motif that was very synonymous with his existence there for years. I think that's what we need. We need Trump showing up to the debate with grill work. TRUMP from like from canine to canine,
and doing the dance.
Yeah, doing the dance,
man.
and he'll probably have to do like some Little John Get Low type moves with the grill work on.
I mean, if he gets the grill, he's just strutting in. He's not going to have to dance. I mean, he'll be the coolest guy there for sure.
Maybe he needs a cane so he can lean a little bit as he walks. Like, yeah, I call this the oak tree.
Yeah, the long tie would actually work in that kind of get up because you see those like old school PIMP outfits where everything was a little bit too big and a little bit too long. Yeah. I think the big tie would work for him in that get up.
Yeah, you know this Chappelle Show skit with Hater of the Year? Uh-huh. Yeah, that sort of look I think he needs to go for. Anyway, here is some of the damage control, or just the reaction. I think this was on CBS after this Bronx event.
What else really stood out to you about the rally?
I will say this rally did look a lot like America. There was a lot of Asian voters there. There were a lot of Hispanic voters, a lot of Black voters there, which is not typical for a Trump rally that I go to when I'm in Wisconsin or Michigan. Yeah. So that's what was fascinating.
But it is a cross-section of New York.
Exactly, exactly. And that's specifically why Trump was there yesterday. Those are key demographics that he sees are starting to break for him just a little bit. That door is opening for Hispanic voters to start voting for Trump in record numbers. They want to capitalize on that in this election. They think if they do, it'll spell success for them.
What else?
I mean, yeah, common sense there.
Yeah.
Like if you break off just a little bit of the Democratic coalition. I mean,
I love how they're talking about how they're giving that analysis as though it's like some sort of brilliant thing. Turns out he's trying to gain Hispanic and black voters.
And he actually wants them. Yeah.
So yeah, that's called campaigning, dum dum.
Right. I mean, he really is throwing it out there. And I think there's enough going on with a crack up in technology, with media technology in particular, to where the usual fire cannons of like just fire hose of information, like you must vote, don't be racist, or don't fall for his tricks. Like that's still going on, and it'll still work on some people. But I think there are a lot, especially younger men, who are like, what are you talking about with this crap? Oh, everybody's racist against me while I'm making bank and trying to build a business.
Whoever has the best targeting on some of those subgroups, I mean, the aggregate will make up enough to actually have an impact.
Absolutely. And he's going to have to do well with more different types of men because the female vote.
It's gone. He doesn't have the female vote. He will not get the female vote. He could transition into a female. He could literally,
You know, I would be the best female.
yeah, he could create the exact opposite scheme of the Handmaid's Tale for women to where they dominate everything and they still wouldn't vote for him. He's just not going to get it. Women voters just don't seem to like him.
Well, and also the messaging doesn't come across as pandering. Like, here's one section of the speech.
Look, we had the greatest economy in history. Everybody here, where you have a small business or if you had a job, you were getting more than you ever made. And we had no inflation. We had no 1.4%, considered better than none, because frankly, none in its own way is a bad thing also. We had a perfect number, 1.4%. It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are. It doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
What happened there is he lost track of his thought, and he just decided.
And whatever the hell.
He was talking about inflation. He forgot where he was going, and then he's just like, it doesn't matter what color you are.
That's what people want, though, man.
Right.
I mean, that's real people. That's what registers.
Yeah, it's right down the middle.
Is none of the glossed over stuff that's going to be said during the debate or anything like that. Is what you get off the cuff.
Yeah, he and then of course here's some of the things that drive certain people, especially Democrats, crazy.
Now, who would let people, seriously, who would let people come from prisons and jails, from mental institutions? They cannot stay. We will immediately begin the largest criminal deportation operation in our country's history, because this situation is sustainable by no country. No country can sustain this.
Send them back.
In the Bronx, my lord.
Well, no, and a lot of the like interviews they did with people in the crowd, again, people of all different races and whatever, were saying, a lot of them were saying they're upset of all these illegals flowing in and they get benefits all of a sudden. Like, oh, you set them up while I've been struggling for years.
Doing it the right way.
Yeah, there's a lot of that mentality. People are tired of, to put it in fancy terms, moral hazard. With this student loan bailout. I think there are a lot of folks tired of this crap of I do everything right, and yet I have to now foot the bill for somebody who did everything wrong. It's one thing to help out somebody who got a bad hand, or they're unlucky, or you're disabled and stuff. I think even like the most dogged libertarian, you really push them on it, like practical politics speaking. Yeah, we're not getting rid of basic safety nets anytime soon, nor should we, given everything else you could cut in this country or change up. So I think there are a lot of folks who are tired of, the cronyism and the favoritism and the picking of winners and losers, is how I would humbly put it. I mean, all types of folks. A Chinese-born immigrant came here. He said, I'm from communism. I know how bad it is. Now I feel like here it's getting like China. Ooh.
Tasha with a ponytail.
Of course, he read the snake poem. I'm going to skip that because we've heard that old bit. No, there was one point where he got an applause line. People were like, USA, USA. You could hear him. The mic was real hot. You could hear him go, get the snake. I need the snake. It was like a play call on the field. like Omaha, hot route. Get the snake. And of course, that's where this drop comes from.
Shut up, silly woman.
Yeah, I think he would do well to stick to obviously immigration is a big thing that everyone's worried and concerned about. But one thing that you don't see him talking about is just the price of everything. This is something that RFK Jr. This is part of his messaging that really resonates, and I've been there when both I've witnessed Trump and RFK speak in person, and I can tell you that the best response that I've seen was when RFK talks about how the price of literally everything is just so sky high. So people can't afford $1,000 emergency. Like 80%
Can't
of people
put their hands on $1,000.
Yeah, they can't put their hands on $1,000, and eggs cost how much, milk is this much, bread is this much, and it's preposterous.
No, people
what's
are choosing
happening.
whether to pay rent or eat.
You're essentially going to fall into two categories. Either, the stock market's going to determine, whether you think the country's headed in the right direction, or when you go to the grocery store, you're not going to be able to buy certain things that you would, say a year and a half ago, something like that.
Right.
And we saw the report a couple of days ago. People are already pulling that.
Oh yeah.
So,
and that I think that would be smart too, because you'll see the messaging from the administration of like, they'll go to the really technical metrics and be like, well, the GDP of whatever grew this much, and it's like, no, you have to tell people, and this is really, really good messaging. When you go to people and like, I don't care what their messaging says. What do you see when you go to the grocery store?
Right.
It's like, screw what they're talking about. What do you see?
what do you feel?
Well, and also,
yeah, exactly.
I have, and we could play the clip here in a second. Peter St. Onge I play his stuff because the guy's on fire.
He's brilliant.
And he's very much in more the economic school that I find a home in, the Austrian school of economics. And you can be just as fancy with all your stats. Like, according to him, all the 13 major developed nations are in per capita recessions at this point.
Yeah.
So, asset prices are going higher in the stock market. Maybe your home's value on paper has gone up. But again, when you go and try to buy everyday consumer goods, when you're trying to make ends meet, especially if you're not somebody who's living off dividends, but you're actually a wage employee, that's really tough. Or you're not a huge business owner, you're a small business owner. You employ 3, 4, 5 people, maybe 20 at the most. And you're sitting there going, okay, the cost of all my inputs is going up. Yeah. I can't let these employees go, and I know that I can't cut their payroll, and I know I probably should give them a raise, but I can't afford it. Margins are shrinking. Like, this is a tough time for folks.
The only way I see those companies being able to actually stay in business is just good people, shopping locally.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, but then the problem there is municipalities jack taxes and rent and everything up so much, to the point where people who are already struggling with money, it's like, listen, am I gonna spend $50 on a shirt from a local boutique, or am I gonna spend $20 on Amazon?
You can only do that for so long.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and so I think it is a bit of a matter of conscience. But people really need to start going and lobbying. We saw this legislative session when they tried to bump up the online sales tax for goods. And they said, well, that this is a way to incentivize people to shop more locally. And I'm sitting there screaming from the press box, no, the way to incentivize people to shop locally is stop blowing their overhead up so much that they have to overcharge or put a significant markup on their goods. So where people who are just like, okay, listen, let's say I make $60,000 a year. I can't afford to go get vegetables from my local, whatever stand close to the Piggly Wiggly, and I can't afford to go buy clothes from this boutique and buy my meat from a local butcher. It's like, no, you have to make those decisions, and those prices could be competitive if people were allowed to operate businesses without these oppressive taxes.
Yeah, and it's making people kind of upset, not to the degree I would like. I want to go full on again Javier Milei with the American government, but maybe we're getting there slowly but surely. 272-9228 if you want to get on the program. Again, that's 334-272-9228. And let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Gloria. Can't I hear your number?
Yeah, that's another classic.
Are you
Trump
living
cut.
under alias? You've been living under. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's up, Soldier Boy?
5 hits, baby. How's that, Joey? Am I ready?
No, that was fantastic. You should start at least a cover band or something.
I should, at least. Oh, here's the thing is he missed on the speech, though, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I loved it when he dropped something and he bent over and he picked it up and said, I bet Biden can't even bend over and pick this up.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's so many moments. People can go watch the speech themselves. And there was so much. It was classic Trump.
And I love the storytelling about the steak. And you know what? It just made me go in my kitchen and get some Chips Ahoy's cookies and a big glass of milk. And I said, "Tell me another story, Mr. Trump." I tell you, he was classic. I said, "That's the first time he's ever told me a story. I don't think a president's ever told me a story. I mean, this is great." And then the character and everything, I was like, "Oh, this guy is classic Trump." I tell you, I thought he was great.
Yeah, because there have been other events where he seems tired, or there's something about being in New York, and that crowd showed up.
Hispanic guy. He says, "You got my vote." He's got a real thick accent,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "This man who can barely speak English and has a broken, heavy accent." And what he said, curly. What did he say about his hair?
I don't remember that.
Oh, he made a comment about a racial comment about that anybody else would have said, but he said it about himself, and that he was an American. And he was going to have his full backing of Mr. Trump. But you know, another thing was interesting. They just barely mentioned they had some adversarial groups out there. You know, some protesters.
Oh, sure.
But you know what about you know one thing about protesters? They're like little pansies. Once they get hit, slapped a little, like Trump. How's Trump say? Get slapped a little bit, and the next thing you know, didn't have any problems.
Right. Well, and the police were out in force. They weren't going to let anything happen on this particular night.
I think there would have been some five-knuckle shuffle from John Cena, baby.
And you're excited.
Oh, I am excited. And you know another thing that it showed me last night? Did you see that lady? I guess she had a heat stroke or something, and he stopped. He says, "Is she okay? Is there a doctor or a paramedic in the group?" Do you remember that when the lady fainted in the front? He said, "They've been waiting here 3-4 days to come see me," he says, "and she's probably exhausted." And this showed another the human touch of a person, not from D.C., but this person is a human being, and he stopped his 5 minutes. I mean, it wasn't like a 10, 15 minute like some of these singers at a stage, you know, when something happens, you know. But he actually stopped, and man, it touched me even more. I mean, I saw more of a human side of him last night than the original OG last night. And I thought it was great.
No, he needs to do more of these events that are more in smaller places within cities. Go to every time he visits a fast food joint and starts buying things for people.
Oh, yeah,
I think it's kind of a great interaction. They just need to make sure they have good mics and cameras around. And I think the guy's in his element.
He's just a bro. Like Trump is just a bro.
Right.
That's why he can relate to Americans.
Exactly. That's why he showed up in 2016, just talking to people talking to his opponents the way that men typically talk to one another.
Right.
And it was something that you're not used to seeing in politics, and it was really endearing. But that's also why women don't care for him that much.
Right.
Do you remember when he went into Chick-fil-A, or was it that restaurant? Mm-hmm. And the African American girl had a ring in her nose. He goes, "Oh, is that art?" and he gave her a hug.
He loves fast food. Donald Trump loves fast. What was it? The
government was shut. Well, the government was shut down, and I think it was Clemson who had just won the national championship.
Okay, I couldn't remember who it was.
Yeah, and so it's a classic photo of Trump standing in front of this mountain of Mickey D's in one of the White House rooms. You're like, now that's America,
and that's a party right there.
Do you remember when I guess they rebuilt, or they've completely, or they're starting to rebuild the new Air Force One? And remember, he said, I can't do the accent like you can, your imitation of Trump. Mm-hmm. But he said, "Oh, that contract price, that's too high. We're going to have to cut this price. Right. We're not cutting anything else."
And as we watched them pour the concrete, it was the Teamsters. Where are the Teamsters here tonight? I think they're going to vote for me, folks. He's in his element. And I wanted to start the show this way because I was fairly blown away when I saw it. I'm like, okay, look at that crowd. Look at his energy. That counts a lot more than people realize, a lot more than yard signs.
What happened at Mar-a-Lago? Was all those documents and document cover sheets and everything, that was all a staged prop?
Yeah, the way they splayed it out on the floor and put a classified or top secret covers on it. Yeah, that stuff was
unbelievable.
Right.
And I like, what is this house too? Okay, so they go into Joe Biden's garage. I think it's a freaking yard sale, and they find classified information. But the use of deadly force is authorized at Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
Put one in the chamber, guys. Take the clip off. Put one in the chamber.
Let's get ready to rock and roll if anybody does anything stupid. Now, here's my question. Who's going to freaking shoot at you? ATF or whatever the hell's coming in there, CIA, FBI, whatever.
Merrick Garland's claiming that this is just the standard FBI warrant procedure.
That's bull crap.
Yeah.
That's bull crap. Did they do that when they did the yard sale at Biden's garage?
They claim they did. They claim they have the same language, but whatever. I appreciate the call, Soldier Boy. I got to run, man.
All right, guys. Later.
And, well, I do have to hit this break. But first, this part of the program brought to you by River Region Contracting. And there at River Region Contracting, Todd Clark and his team are ready to help you with that roof of yours. And so when it comes to your roof, whether it's an asphalt or metal roof, you should have it inspected every few years. Eddie and I have been recommending get it done every year. In this Alabama weather and these elements, and especially all these storms, 'tis the season for storms rolling through, good to make sure you have peace of mind at least. And here's the beautiful thing. When you work with River Region Contracting, that inspection and their estimates are always free. Yeah, free. And they're insurance specialists. So if they do find a problem with your roof, your insurance company might cover. They can walk you through that claims process and make it an easy and swift experience. Not usually something people associate with dealing with an insurance claim. They're just that good there at River Region Contracting. So that number, 356-8635. That's 356-8635. And be sure to tell Todd Clark and that great team of his that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This year has had some pretty good sales, but nothing in Montgomery tops this one. It's the Memorial Day event at Toyota of Montgomery, our only event where you get paid to save. Friday through Monday only. Buy any new Toyota and get a $500 Amazon gift card. Plus, absolutely incredible once-a-year leases on the new 2024 Corolla LE. $199 a month. New 2024 Camry LE. $290 a month. Trade in your old car and get up to $5,000 over book value for your trade. This is the sale you've been waiting all year for, and it's only happening through Memorial Day Monday. There's no better time to drive home a new Toyota. And for the first time ever, you're getting a $500 Amazon gift card. It all ends Memorial Day Monday. Rush to Toyota of Montgomery today or shop online now at toyotamontgomery.com. Part of the Sutherland Automotive Group. Gift card while supplies last. Gift card cannot be combined with other special offers. Corolla LE TSRP 24, $183. Camry LE TSRP 30,364. 12,000 miles per year for 36 month lease with $5,999 due at signing. $0 security deposit with free credit. Accessible year, tear, and mileage. By trade value plus tax, tag, title, and $995. Ends 5/27/2024.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage.
And I'm Madeline Cannon. And we have some exciting news to share with you. We've been serving the state of Alabama for many, many years. And now we are able and ready to offer the same great mortgage financing in Georgia and Florida as well.
Our company may be Alabama Home Mortgage, but now we can finance your Georgia home mortgage and your Florida home mortgage too. We couldn't be more excited to extend our customer base to our neighboring states. For years, we have had customers call us in hopes we could assist them with purchasing their vacation cabin in North Georgia or their dream home in Florida. And now we can. For those of you who have family and friends that live in Florida and Georgia, be sure to tell them the good news.
Whether you are looking to purchase or refinance a home located in Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, you owe it to yourself to give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223, or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time.
It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to make your life a little bit easier. Great. Now raise your other hand if you like to be comfortable. Perfect. Now that you have both hands raised, imagine putting on your shoes. And that, folks, right there is your answer to an easier, more comfortable life. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. This is footwear you don't need your hands to put on. They can be raised in the air, and you can just step it and go. Why don't you experience what people can't stop talking about? Life-changing Skechers Slip-ins. Get your Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network is brought to you by Ernest Financial.
If you're tired of losing your money in the stock market, call David Ernest, 334-279-7431. Ernest Financial, LLC.
Hi, everybody. One of the top 3 outdoor weekends of the year looks fairly routine. The unofficial start of summertime, with today's high up to about 91. And for today, tomorrow, and Sunday, there could be a few pop-up, widely scattered, random hit-or-miss storms here and there, but not many. Very typical for Memorial Day weekend. Low 90s daytime, low 70s at night. More scattered pop-up storms on Memorial Day Monday with a high around 91. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Do you have big plans this summer? Dive into summer with an ASE Credit Union vacation loan. Whether you've got a trip coming up, projects at home, or just need a little extra cash, we've got you covered. So don't put your plans on hold. Visit yourasecu.com or stop by and see us today.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Both Byron Sheehy and Craig Monger here in the studio. Craig's the one wearing the Coca-Cola t-shirt. And again, Byron is dressed like a casual adult man.
Today.
Yeah. Today?
Today.
For today.
For
Yeah.
today.
Well, we're used to Eddie in here. You know, he wears pool liners, I've learned.
Yes.
Like these, and they're not even cotton. They're that weird fabric, and it's a thing.
It's like the dry fit.
Right. And I don't know why I don't love that material. But,
It's like a loose spandex.
Yes.
That's what it is. I'm not a fan.
Emphasis on loose.
It's to let people know that you're an outdoorsman. You're gonna go fishing at some point. Just maybe
Right.
not right now.
Right. It could, if you ask me, we could go.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's for people who are counting on the fact that everyone else is self-deluded enough to believe that being a fisherman is equivalent to being like a sportsman.
Right.
So they're like, I'm basically an athlete.
Right. Now, I want to do a little bit of palate cleanser from the politics, because we opened up heavy there with the Trump love. Because, I mean, I just want the dancing. And I don't think he's going to change the world. I think Washington probably, the only thing that's going to change that is a meteor strike. Or maybe like it'll flood into the ocean like Atlantis. I can dream. A man can dream. But this was a moment people are saying was an all-time moment on Wheel of Fortune the other night. So for those who aren't watching the live stream, again, you can go to Joey Clark Live on YouTube or at the Joey Clark on Twitter X. How would we describe this puzzle, gentlemen? It's a 4-letter word that's completely blank, then a 2-letter word that begins with an I, then a 3-letter word that ends with an E, and then what? A 5-letter word with an exclamation point and a T at the end. And there's trying to do guesses here.
I don't want to make my guess.
You don't want to make your guess?
No.
All right. Do you have anything comes to mind, Craig?
Back in the fight, I don't know.
Mine would be a Leon Phelps type reference.
You just anticipated things beautifully.
Oh, really?
Tavares, right in the butt. No.
I said what?
Blake.
This is the best.
It might as well be the same thing.
Yeah. Tomato, you know.
Cavassier.
Oh, that's amazing too. Like,
Oh, that's
what do you? I gotta play it again. I gotta see this again.
Tavares, right in the butt. No.
No.
And he said right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just,
Which doesn't fit the 4 letters. Yeah.
I think he just wanted to get it in there.
Right. And what is Dabbit, sir? Oh, no, that's the butt. Under hobbies.
Underrated movie.
Even logic would tell you that that's not going to be a. I don't know. What was it? What was the one Wheel of Fortune guy? A group of pill pushers or something?
Or the South Park episode. Woo! People who bother you, Mr. Marsh.
I think I know, but I don't want to say. 10 seconds, Mr. Marsh.
You're on the air. Who's this?
Simpler days.
Hey, sir. How are you?
In simpler days, when we used to talk about butts, it was butt paste and
right,
that kind of stuff.
Well, you got to watch out for that rash.
Prison reform and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, yeah, right in the butt and prison reform don't exactly not belong in the same conversation.
It's true.
I stand down on that.
Anyway.
Definitely don't sit down on it.
Anyway, dudes, instead of calling you gentlemen there, dudes, everybody needs to pray for rain this weekend. A lot of heavy rain. Because it's going to be a long, hot Memorial Day weekend. And there's usually two really active crime weekends. 4th of July and Memorial Day weekend. You have a lot of alcohol consumption. You have a lot of people getting together. And now with the guns involved, it's a cocktail for homicide. I predict it's going to be a long, bloody weekend. Because if they're shooting them during the week the way they are now, you just wait.
Right.
I've seen it before on 4th of July. We used to hate to come to work on 4th because we knew what it meant, taking the fireworks away from the kids and also responding to shooting calls.
Well,
Aren't
it looks
you
like
just a ice cream scoop of sunshine today.
Well, pray for rain, my man.
Well, it looks like it's going to be scattered thunderstorms on Saturday during the day, but the evening's clear, and then Monday scattered thunderstorms as well, about a 50% chance.
Well, maybe the scattered thunderstorms they're not using plastic guns. It'll maybe seize up their weapons or slow them down.
No, I mean, this is why I usually just stay inside that, and I like staying inside. I enjoy my room.
There you go. Especially if you've got a safe room, Joey.
I don't have a safe room.
They have one at the police academy now, along with a therapy dog. Have a good weekend.
Simpler days. Yeah, the city council meetings aren't getting any less populated.
Oh no,
because the numbers are crazy right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely nuts. But here, let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Red Top. Good Friday, gentlemen.
Good Friday. Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Oh yes, and yes, it's always hot on Memorial Day, and I completely agree with it. Alcohol is probably a major factor in all these damn shootings. These young guys, it's out of control. So, they won't talk about marijuana. At least pot smokers don't go around shooting all over the place. We're too happy for that. Now, can I talk about the demographics in the Bronx? They are 70% Latino, 20% black, and 10% white. And and I watched the rally, the whole thing, all the way through, where the lady fainted and everything. And his speech to the youth was especially good. And if you want to watch all his rallies, they carry them live on Newsmax no matter what, without interruption. So that's, as far as I can tell, I look for it everywhere. Nobody was carrying it but Newsmax.
No, apparently all the networks carried it last night. There's something about him being in the Bronx that was news, and it was news.
Well, I know they didn't carry the rally that he spoke for over an hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Newsmax is capturing every word of every rally.
And if you have any online savvy, it's available pretty much everywhere online.
Yeah, good. I encourage everybody to watch it. It was well worth it. And speaking of a meteor changing the planet, Joey, I'm about to take my second ride over the meteor today.
Oh, nice.
We're going to go over the meteor crater. side of the Alabama River to Montgomery and go back up the north side. So,
Smoke a little gunge. Look at
no.
Oh, I thought you were having a good time.
Sir, you got to be serious about certain things. And when you're 1,000 feet up in the air, it's time to get serious about things. No. Because it's and you don't want to be,
No, I think that's just the pot making you risk averse.
Well, I'm not flying. He asked me if I wanted to grab the sticks and the steering wheel, and I said, no, thank you. I ain't going to be the one to crash the damn plane. But it's a thrill. Golly Moses, I'm not going to be such a chicken ass this time. I'm going to stick my camera out the window when we get over to the media later. Y'all have a great weekend. Roll Tide, go Trump.
You know, he hit on something, the youth turnout.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the morning after when Trump gets a rather large slice of the youth vote that they're not anticipating. And it all centers around opportunity. You know, we've seen young black folks, men and women, start voting Republican more at a higher rate than, previously. So I do think that that's going to be a part of that aggregate that people aren't really counting on in some of these swing states.
Oh, yeah. And it doesn't take much, again. When you're talking to these traditionally Democratic coalition, you just break in, say, 10%, and you're starting to really mess up what they're hoping for. Now, of course, it's going to be all focused within the battleground states. But if you can move those numbers across demographics just 10 and then, 20%, it should be a landslide.
No, I mean, realistically, if it's 10, it should be a landslide.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's a guarantee, but the momentum seems to be going in favor of not just Trump. Trump seems to be, again, riding this wave of a new age of technology and media.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what also RFK Jr. continues to bank on, but I don't necessarily see it.
Biden's he's not inciting the younger voters. I mean, if they're going to make a change, they're going to need to make it soon. And
wait, you're telling me that grandpa on cocaine isn't entertaining for the young folks? It's kind of.
Kind of on Saturday Night Live, but
right
in real time, it's kind of scary.
Plus, when he's all hopped up on some upper, he's angry. Really angry.
When he has to do public speaking events at this stage at strongholds to explain his record and why he's the better candidate, that's should be the canary in the coal mine.
Right. Yeah, and they keep trying to explain to folks, no, everything's fine. And unless you have already ideological priors, I think most people are open to saying, no, Biden kind of sucks. This is why you're seeing now, we got a clip in a second, Doug Schoen, the old Democratic strategist, saying, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Democrats switch up who their nominee is.
I would be. I'd be very surprised.
Well, the one I keep hearing, Michelle Obama was thrown out there for a while, but this one makes too much sense. They put Hillary in.
I think it'll be Michigan.
They make Gavin Newsom the VP.
I was going to say, no,
What do you mean Michigan?
What's her name? The governor of Michigan.
Oh, Whitmer.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a terrible move. She's very unlikable.
Gretchen.
She never got below 50% whenever she forced everyone into lockdown and got busted having that yacht party.
Yeah, but that's from people in Michigan, and having lived in Michigan, they're not the brightest bulb in the box.
Look, we got to win their votes, Craig.
What? No, no, you have plenty of rednecks in Michigan, but you also just have, they're boring people. They're just it's too cold to be entertaining in Michigan.
You're clearly not running a political campaign.
No, I'm not. But seriously though, Whitmer would be a disaster. Whitmer, however you say her stupid name. I think Newsom is. Michelle Obama would win. I just don't know
I don't think she wants it.
I don't think she wants it either. But I think if they do switch it out, it's going to be Newsom. But I don't think they're going to switch.
See, I think the Hillary thing makes way too much sense. In terms of, it's not just thinking who's best. You also have to think in terms of who has the sway and the money and the power in the party.
He's already beat her once.
That's the point.
True.
Why?
That's true.
Why in God's name?
Well, no, he didn't beat her. The Russians did.
Why in God's name would they switch in a candidate who has beaten him for one that lost to him? That would make zero sense.
Well, have you seen Biden lately?
Yeah, that was a few years ago. I mean, the world's changed.
Yeah, the world's changed, but the world hasn't changed in the sense of anyone having more of an appetite for Hillary Rodham Clinton.
No. It's not about Hillary. It's about the lack of appetite for Biden.
Correct. Well, I think they're two. The reason I think that they're not that they wouldn't want to switch Biden now, I just think that it's too unpredictable for that. That's the reason why I think that they obviously would want to switch him out, but I think the unpredictability of it would prevent them from doing so. But one thing that I think they would never do is switch the predictable for the predictable in the opposite direction for what they're going for, because again, he already beat her, and when she was supposed to win, he beat her. So and his star is shining brighter now than ever. So that just seems like it would be a disastrous move.
Well, here's Doug Schoen last night. I think this is on Fox News with Huckabee hosting Hannity. Talk about BoomerCon Central.
Yep.
But let's listen in.
Well, I think he is most likely the nominee.
Biden.
The national polls are within a point or two now, and even though the swing states are showing really a clear Trump lead, Biden is within the hunt. But there's a but, Kaylee, and the but is a disastrous debate, as you suggest, which, given what we saw today, could well happen. And more bad polls and more bad performances could lead what happened to Richard Nixon in the summer of 1974 to happen to Joe Biden. It's a long shot, but the party elders could come to him and say, Mr. President, it's time to consider stepping aside. Again, most likely Joe Biden will be the nominee and will run the campaign, notwithstanding his challenges. But it's within the realm of possibility. I don't rule it out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty sober analysis.
I agree. But the thing is, what's curious to me is people like a Huckabee who would be more in line with sort of they stole the 2020 election.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious as to why they think if that's the case, why would the candidate matter? So if I was someone who thought that they were capable of stealing the 2020 election in the way that a lot of people believe, like just straight up changing votes, for instance, then the last thing I would expect is for them to change candidates at all because the candidate doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, if they have that capacity, but they also, I don't know. At this point, I maintain, despite Trump having that great performance at the Bronx and polling looking good, it's going to take a miracle for the guy to win.
I agree.
Yeah.
And if he does win, I think it's going to be mayhem on purpose in the streets of big cities.
And I'm so here for it.
You say bring it on?
I want him to win only because of the level of brain explosion that is going to cause.
That's fair.
The same reason I would vote.
It's a valid reason.
I would vote for like a rabid platypus for the same reason.
You know, there's still a lot of people that promised to move the last time he got elected that are still here.
Right, that's true.
Oh, Canada.
It's Canada.
Canada? Have you ever been to Canada?
Mm-mm.
It's a lovely place, lovely people.
I got close when I was in upstate New York for my brother's wedding, but
they have
it's a lovely country.
They have this lovely like coffee place that really lived up to the hype. Typically, when you travel to places, it was like Tim Hortons or the name of it. Yeah. Dude, they had bagels or bagels or however those fruity people say it. It was delicious. They were great bagels.
Oh yeah, Tim Hortons is a bomb, man.
Oh yeah, the coffee was good. Yeah. Canadian people live up to the hype.
Yeah.
They're not bad. There's a few of them. Like when you first get to the border, like the border people, they're really rude and impolite, and then you're looking at a picture of the Queen, and it's just bizarre.
Well,
but after that, it's great.
And Canadians are genuinely funny. Like so many funny people have come out of Canada.
Yes.
They have that. It's that in between the Brits and the Americans,
and they don't
it's
want
a perfect
us.
balance.
That's the best part of it. They don't want us. All the people that say I'm going to move to Canada, they don't want you. They have funnily enough, they have their own problems and they have their own culture, and they don't want a bunch of
They don't want an
Americans.
immigration problem.
Oh, yeah, shocking.
Shocked.
Yeah. We got to hit the top of our break, but first, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And there at Pest Pro, well, Ashley has put together a fantastic team that's ready to help you with all of these pest control needs here as spring turns into summer. And, well, 'tis the season for mosquitoes. They love the heat. They love all this moisture in the air. So do those termites. And you don't want to let termites actually start hitting your property. That's a very expensive problem to fix. Why not get some termite inspections done early, get some treatments done early before they ever damage your property? But of course, fire ants are going to be out in force. If you got kids or dogs especially, and you like them playing outside, you might want to get those fire ants taken care of. Of course, it could be any particular problem you might have, or it could be you're just looking for a great, trustworthy pest control company, and that is Pest Pro Services. So call Ashley and her team today at 265-9990. That's 265-9990, or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services, and be sure to tell Ashley and the team that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Hunter Biden in court days before he's expected to stand trial on federal firearms charges in Delaware. President Biden's son is charged with lying about his drug use in 2018 on a form to buy a gun he kept for about 11 days. Hunter Biden has acknowledged an addiction to crack cocaine during that period. The NCAA and 5 major college sports conferences have agreed to settle antitrust allegations for nearly $2.8 billion over the next 10 years. That deal also calling for a groundbreaking revenue-sharing model that could start steering millions of dollars directly to college athletes as soon as 2025. The Dow had 91 points and the NASDAQ up 184. This is SRN News.
Donald Trump's indictment proves that saving America is not going to be easy. There are entrenched powers that are fighting this with everything they've got. They want to keep control over the country, the narrative, and the nation's money supply. Hi, I'm Lance Wallnau. I'm a news analyst, a Christian author, an evangelical leader. I speak to millions of people every week, people just like you. You see, what the elites are doing is using inflation and government handouts and now central bank digital currencies to determine how they're going to control America. And that's why I recommend all Christians start a gold IRA from the Birch Gold Group, because physical precious metals are one of the few ways you can maintain control over your own savings. To get a free info kit on gold IRAs, text the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and you'll see why a gold IRA can help you. There are no strings attached. Text the word faith to 989898 and you're going to be blessed by taking action right now.
Weather is brought to you by the Johnny Adams Law Firm.
I'm Johnny Adams with the Johnny Adams Law Firm, Alabama's personal injury law firm. Wishing you a fabulous day and a blessed evening. Stay weather alert.
Everybody, one of the top 3 outdoor weekends of the year looks fairly routine. The unofficial start of summertime with today's high up to about 91. And for today, tomorrow, and Sunday, there could be a few pop-up, widely scattered, random hit-or-miss storms here and there, but not many. Very typical for Memorial Day weekend. Low 90s daytime, low 70s at night. More scattered pop-up storms on Memorial Day Monday with a high around 91. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Delray Publix.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. A homicide investigation is underway after another deadly shooting in Montgomery last night. 2 women were shot in the 600 block of Iris Lane shortly after 7 p.m. Thursday. One of the women was pronounced dead at the scene. The other victim was taken to a local hospital for treatment of a gunshot wound. Meta's artificial intelligence data center is now under construction across from the Hyundai plant in Hope Hull. The final project is expected to bring over 100 jobs to the Montgomery area. Meta Platform's 1,500,000 square foot, $800 million data center is expected to be completed by the end of 2026. A Montgomery man is charged with leading an Alabama state trooper on a high-speed chase. The trooper attempted to pull 27-year-old Michael Lockhart over on the Alabama River Parkway just before 10:30 Thursday morning. The chase eventually ended on Northern Boulevard, where Lockhart was taken into custody. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Honey, I got my bonus check today.
That's great, sweetheart.
Let's book that Hawaiian vacation right now.
Actually, I was thinking more like an electrical upgrade for our house.
What?
It's not all that glamorous, but updating your home's electrical system is a great investment, enhancing its value and your safety. The panel and wiring in most older homes were not designed to meet modern demands. The experts at Crosby Electric can update your system to give you peace of mind.
Sorry, honey, but I just want to feel safe in my own home.
Faulty wiring and electrical equipment are among leading causes of most home fires. Crosby Electric will make sure your panel, meter, circuit breakers, and receptacles are up to date.
I can just see us lying on the beach at Waikiki.
And I can see us lying in our own bed, knowing we're safe.
Okay, but next year...
I'll dance the hula in a grass skirt.
All right.
Sleep well with no electrical worries. For a free home assessment, visit crosbyelectric.com.
If what you like is getting the highest payouts, getting the most free play, and finding more of your favorite games all on a spacious upscale gaming floor, then Wind Creek Atmore is your kind of fabulous. No matter what fabulous means to you, you'll find it here. Wind Creek Atmore. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Every Tuesday at Riverwalk Stadium is Tacos and Tall Boys. Get your Taco Tuesday on with $4 chicken or beef tacos and $4 select 16-ounce beers at the Golden Sombrero. It's been 20 years of biscuits, so butter up with us for some Tacos and Tall Boys. That's on Tuesday nights at Riverwalk Stadium. For tickets and more information, visit biscuitsbaseball.com or call the box office at 323-BALL.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Here on what is a lovely Friday to kick off the Memorial Day weekend. Lovely so far. Watch out for any errant bullets. I hate that, like, that's not really a joke. That's just the reality of Montgomery these days, sadly. But this makes me smile. Joining us on the phone now, we have the one, the only Jeff Deist. For folks who don't know, he was chief of staff to Ron Paul while he was in Congress there for a few years. So president of the Mises Institute for about a decade. And, of course, his bylines all over the place, published. Clever man, insightful man, and somebody I'm happy to call a friend. Jeff, how you doing this afternoon?
Happy Friday, Joey. Doing great.
So what do you make of this Libertarian convention coming up? I was at first just kind of scratching my chin about the invitation given to Trump and Biden and RFK Jr., and I guess Vivek Ramaswamy is also going to be there. But I think they got it right when it came to the keynote speaker they chose.
It's interesting, isn't it, that we have this Libertarian Party, third party in America, and yet we really don't have much agreement on the definition of liberty. Even amongst libertarians, there's huge disagreements about what all this means, and socially, culturally, politically, economically. I wish them well. I wish we had robust third parties in this country. I wish we had, frankly, a parliamentary system, perhaps, whereby there could be many, many parties represented, that they could coalesce around certain votes, and maybe we could attack some of these problems we have on a single issue basis, as opposed to having everything go down the middle. You're an R or a D, and you have to go along with the whole program either way. or your party has mechanisms, especially in the U.S. Congress, for punishing you if you don't. So, I the Libertarian Party, any other third party, I'm all for it. Anything that shakes things up. But as we've seen, especially in D.C. anyway, that the stranglehold is so enormous that third parties really struggle to breathe because of the spoils system. But I read that they invited Trump, I guess, for notoriety, for publicity, and I get it. He might be the next president, so at least talking to him and maybe reminding him, especially on the foreign policy side, of some of his professed views way back in 2016 that sounded kind of libertarian and that he didn't really stick to, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it seems like you're right. The first thing you said there, that the liberty is a word that means so many different things to so many different people, and it's hard to rein that in exactly. But what do you make of the circus that's now taking shape with the two-party race when it looks like a Trump-Biden matchup? Do you think Biden actually sticks in with this thing?
I don't know what to make of it other than in a 330 million person country. The idea that the two candidates are that old, Joe Biden is obviously unwell in every sense of the word. Donald Trump is more robust, but quite overweight and not what I would call a healthy guy at any age, but especially at his age. And that strikes me as a real travesty that we can't come up with better candidates first and foremost, and also that some of the really brilliant, talented, competent people in this world would never touch running for office simply because of the dirt and the negative campaigning and the personal attacks, bringing their families into it, etc. It's not a comfortable place for most wealthy, successful people. So, I don't know if Biden makes it. It seems to me that if his polling numbers remain where they are, that the Democratic Party will have to do something and replace him, maybe at the convention even.
Well, and I just have to say that as I'm watching the shift in politics, it's not happening enough within the party structures or the actual, say, boomer voters. But the change in media is heartening to me. I was very happy to see Dave Smith sitting down with Tucker Carlson and throwing your name out there, which was always great to hear. Citing you as somebody everybody needs to pay attention to. I agree with Dave there. But there's so many good points, and it almost reminds me of the old paleo-conservative libertarian coalition, that particular sit-down between Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson. And one point that's good to remind people as we get all worked up about Election Day, and this is the most important election in history. We're at a tipping point, Jeff. We're at an inflection point. It's like, no, the Republic seems to have lost, generations ago?
Well, certainly the constitutional notion of republic, you could even say the Civil War, that period where around Lincoln's era where the 9th and 10th Amendments were essentially discarded. But fast forward to the late 1800s, the Sherman Antitrust Act was an enormous expansion of federal power. Then you could argue that 1910s, where we created a central bank and an income tax. You could certainly argue the 1930s, when we created a vast entitlement Social Security system and later Medicare and other entitlements in the 60s. I mean, you could go back and point to any one of those times and say, okay, this is when the republic was lost, the idea of a republican form of government versus a direct democracy. So, that's tough for people to hear. It's tough for people to swallow, but it is the truth. And Trump versus Biden from I guess we'll say a policy or an ideological standpoint is not really much of a difference at all. And you wonder what it is about our politics, whether it's, again, this two-party system or the money that's involved in it or the rigmarole that candidates have to go through. You just wonder what it is about our system that is producing this stalemate where nobody seems to be happy. Democracy isn't producing some sort of compromise down the middle where neither side gets everything it wants, but it gets some of it. I mean, that people don't really view it that way at all. People view it as some sort of death match where you have to vanquish the other side. And that's changed since, let's say, when I was a kid. I mean, look, you can go back, talk to your grandparents, great-grandparents. People hated FDR. People hated JFK. People hated Bill Clinton. I mean, vociferously. Now, the media was different back then, and we didn't have social media, so we maybe didn't feel it as acutely in the public way. But, I mean, this has always existed. But boy, something feels different today about this. I mean, than, let's say, when Bill Clinton beat George Bush Sr. I'm old enough to recall that election. This feels different. It feels like things are nastier. It feels like the problems are worse and bigger, and it feels like the willingness of the public to accept a political outcome is really diminished.
Yeah, and you just brought to mind, I think of all people, it was Walter Russell Reed or something like that. His foreign policy aside, he did a great presentation on protest music and folk music in the Republic, and one that comes to mind is somebody singing. It was a Southern protest song like it's FDR speaking, that I hate war and so does Eleanor. We won't be free until we all are dead. And so, like, to your point, there has been dissent out there in the country before. Maybe now are we just these people at platforms to where the so-called rude folks who aren't as cool as everybody in Washington, D.C., like they just now have, say, Twitter, for lack of a better word, to get out all this sort of nastiness, as some might characterize it.
Well, I saw Elon Musk the other day interviewed, and he was talking about how Twitter really is the primary news source for a lot of folks. It tends to break stories quicker and earlier because virtually every place on Earth now, there are people with mobile phones and cameras and video in their pocket, and so they're capturing footage or events in real time as they happen. By the time the news desk for CNN or somebody like that can go find out something's happening in country X, they have to muster their news desk there, and that could be many, many hours or days. So there is sort of a real time to it. Also, Elon Musk pointed out that under the old rules, you know, if you look at the major networks and the cable networks and the major newspapers, that was really only a handful of people relative to the population with this sort of editorial control to create the narrative. And he likened it to, you know, let's say you have a picture of a group of people, and the photographer zooms in on a blemish on the face of one of the people in the group photo, you know, and that becomes the story. And it was almost Michael Mouse, like he says, well, it's not untruthful. That person is standing there in the photo, and they do have a blemish. But the fact that's what the photographer zoomed in on, and that became sort of the editorial decision. That's where the mainstream media would you know, focus on certain things and ignore other things. And so now Twitter gives the general public, Twitter and other social media outlets, of course, give the general public this ability to sort of crowd craft the narrative, crowdsource, and that's a real change. And we've seen that it's driving the media nuts. There's a lot of layoffs, a lot of red ink. The Washington Post is losing tens of millions of dollars a year, which I believe Jeff Bezos can afford to lose, last time I checked. But but the rest of us, if we wanted to own a newspaper, Joe, you know, that's really different, and that's something I think we're still grappling with.
Yeah, and it really is like the beginning of a play or a movie or a show. Like they'll introduce, the corporate press will introduce, here's the character and here's what you should think about him. Pretty straight up, and that's still going on. Those fire hoses, we were talking about it earlier in the show, are still there. Where, you know, you better not vote for Trump because we don't want to be racist, right, ladies and gentlemen? That's one, say, factor, one angle they attack vector they'll throw at a certain person. But I want to shift gears here because how long have you been a resident here in Alabama? You're a true Alabamian now, right?
I'm not born and raised. I cannot claim that, Joey, but I've been here more than 10 years, and I like it.
Right, there you go. So when you look at, say, our representation, the House is one thing, as you know much better than me. But when you look at, say, our two senators here in the state, Tuberville and Britt, what's your take on these senators that are supposed to be, speaking for our state up there?
Joey, you going to ask me this on the air?
Yes, I want to hear
This is what we talked about, at breakfast or whatever.
No, this is what I want to hear on the air.
Well, look, I have actually bumped into Tommy Tuberville at CBS, and this was back when he was running against Doug Jones, and I gave him a few thoughts. Don't underestimate Doug Jones, for example, and I would say he has been overall probably a happy surprise. He's not driven by ideology or intellectualism. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having been a football coach. People like to mock him for that, but there's a lot of leadership and management and ups and downs involved in that. And I don't think that we should be dismissive of people for something like that. It's a better, at least it's a private sector career in a sense, compared to some of the politicians. So, his instincts have been, I think, Alabama first for the most part. He doesn't seem to love all these endless wars, and he doesn't seem to love the military-industrial complex, even though, of course, especially up in the northern part of the state, we have quite a bit of federal spending. So I'll give him some credit for that. Katie Britt, I don't love, simply because I don't think, having been a staffer for a senator who was with us way too long and was basically a pork belly guy, I don't think that's the kind of achievement that should send someone into the rarefied air of the U.S. Senate. I think a U.S. senator should be someone who is not this, if you read her book, this sort of, oh, shucks, I'm a mom, I'm just like you. No, I don't want a senator to be just like me, Joey. I want a senator to be much, much better than me. I want them to be brilliant and accomplished and in the top 1% of people in America. And that's not what we're getting with the U.S. Senate. We're getting it's almost being treated like the U.S. House. There used to be a real distinction, and people understood the distinction. The senator was a different thing. They tended to be a little wealthier, a little more Ivy League, however you want to put it, and a little less populist. And because they didn't have to run every 2 years, and because the Senate was a more genteel body, they could afford to be to be a little less prone to public outbursts. They didn't have to have their ear to the ground quite as much. They were a more deliberative body, so they could take some of the excesses of the House and blunt them. And that's exactly what the Senate is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a bunch of glorified U.S. reps who have 6-year terms instead of 2. No, it's not supposed to be that at all. It is there to temper the House. And, no offense to Katie Britt, I just don't think that she has the gravitas to fulfill that role.
Well, and I'll put it this way. I've been playing behind the scenes matchmaker, and I think Tuberville will be appearing on Judge Napolitano's show here soon. I can't imagine, maybe hell will freeze over if I ever see Senator Britt talking to Judge Knapp. So there's a difference right there. I'll put it mildly that way. And pretty much out of time here. Folks want to check out what you're writing about, thinking about. Your Twitter feed is always a lot of gems there, folks, a lot of rabbit holes you can go down. Twitter, the best spot for folks?
Yes, I am on Twitter at Jeff Deist. All one word is JEFFDEIST. And would love for you to follow me.
And, of course, your general counsel there at Monetary Metals. Tell folks about that real quick.
Monetary-metals.com is we are trying to bring gold and silver back into the world of real finance and using them as money to lend to people so that they can go out and do deals and produce things, especially mines and refiners. So if you happen to be invested in precious metals or interested in those in the industries surrounding that, that's right where we are.
Well, appreciate the time as always, Jeff. Talk again soon.
Joey, thank you.
Again, folks, Jeff Deist there. Always great talking to him. And, given his experience, the fact that he was the chief of staff for Ron Paul when Ron Paul is in there in the Congress, really not playing the same game as all the other members and raising money, kicking their ass in terms of like the money being raised back in that day. And in many ways, Jeff Deist is one of the men behind that, very prominently.
Yeah.
So,
can you imagine being Ron Paul's chief of staff?
Right.
Like,
that's the hold on and just enjoy the ride, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they very consciously were like, we're not going to be playing this game. We'll play the game to enough to where Ron could essentially talk to like Ben Bernanke and the Fed people so he could get his committees. They played the seniority game. Of course, they would play the game, too, of we're going to vote no on everything, but if we are going to earmark, we're going to at least look out for our district, which I don't begrudge them that.
No.
But, yeah, they wouldn't do the normal, I'm a Republican, we are the party of awesome, and the Democrats are Satan. Like, they wouldn't do that game. It was always really calling out all of Washington,
Right.
D.C. Like, go watch Ron Paul's farewell address from the floor of the House. Wow, it is still amazing.
Oh, yeah.
How many budget halts would you say actually exist in Congress?
Thomas Massey, so the one. Actually, I think Rand Paul, Ron's son, is pretty serious about wanting to cut the budget. In the Senate, let's say 4 or 5 of them, and maybe you could pull the practical people along at some point, but actual budget hawks, like 4 or 5 of them in the Senate. And I think a very small handful in the House there.
Well, he was talking about a few years ago, it was, was it as visceral or whatnot? And I'm just wondering if the states have gotten so high from government spending and fighting over this project and that project that if that's what led to it.
That's part of it. Well, I think that's part of it. And then also the vitriol between the parties. Like, it is very true. Democrats and Republicans used to eat at the same places. They used to go to the same bars. They used to have family connections, business connections, donor connections even. And that's, say, the high point is the late 80s, early 90s.
Well,
and it's really shifted to where they're incredibly segregated from one another, almost every aspect of life.
My old boss, Everett, when he would go out with Democrats after committee assignments and have dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, so as late as 2005, 2006, it was still that way. It went back a few years later, and everyone's like, that world's gone. So it happened pretty much right during the Obama time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and Obama is the era when social media really gets going.
And I bet you there's a lot to do with the TARP bailout as well.
Well, how's that?
Well, I'm just talking about as far as the anger and fervor from the people and having to demonize one side.
Well, that's when you get the Tea Party and Occupy Wall Street. Yeah. Yeah. And thus the folks that were not playing the normal games, everybody else in the major parties wanted to play. But yeah, I always appreciate Jeff Deist's insights because he has a different take than, I say, the average bear who's worked and lived up there in D.C. Great to have him here in Alabama for over a decade. We got to hit a break, but first, this part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health, and they're at Montgomery Men's Health. Well, guys, 2 things can happen as we men mature. One could be ED, erectile dysfunction, or it could be a more generalized problem like low testosterone. And these are not things to deny, put off, be ashamed about, and don't wait to get it fixed. Don't wait. I know guys hate going to the doctor, but Montgomery Men's Health was created to take care of guys like us, because I hate going to the doctor too. And the reality is, gentlemen, pills often quit working. Guys start making excuses for not coming to bed. There are actually studies now that show men will be more irritable and argumentative on purpose just before bedtime to avoid failing at intimacy. So, guys, if you're lacking motivation, energy, and drive, you're always tired, perhaps seen unwanted weight gain, loss of muscle mass, a low sex drive, just feel like you're walking through your life in a fog, knowing whether you have low testosterone is huge in combating some of these issues. And the providers there at Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup. It also gets you a PSA score, plus a consultation for only $99. And at Montgomery Men's Health, they have low T treatments. If that is your issue, that can truly change lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym. Brother. That's right, brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism. You usually even notice an increased libido. And you can...
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that at all. For those, it's just a fancy word for sex drive. Latin, I think.
Yeah. It's Latin for...
So you can book the same day that you call. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bell's cleaning service get your home in order. Families in the River region trust Southern Bells because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for waterproof carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Prattville Carpet is a family-owned flooring store that prides itself on personal service, quality products, and guaranteed installation. From beautiful hardwood floors to luxurious smart strand carpet, Prattville Carpet has you covered. Call, come by, or online at prattvillecarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
This year has had some pretty good sales, but nothing in Montgomery tops this one. It's the Memorial Day event at Toyota of Montgomery, our only event where you get paid to save. Friday through Monday only. Buy any new Toyota and get a $500 Amazon gift card. Plus, absolutely incredible once-a-year leases on the new 2024 Corolla LE. $199 a month. New 2024 Camry LE. $290 a month. Trade in your old car and get up to $5,000 over book value for your trade. This is the sale you've been waiting all year for, and it's only happening through Memorial Day Monday. There's no better time to drive home a new Toyota. And for the first time ever, you're getting a $500 Amazon gift card. It all ends Memorial Day Monday. Rush to Toyota of Montgomery today or shop online now at toyotamontgomery.com. Part of the Sutherland Automotive Group. Gift card while supplies last. Gift card cannot be combined with other special offers. Corolla LE TSRP 24, $183. Camry LE TSRP 30,364. 12,000 miles per year for 36 month lease. With $5,999 due sign $0 security deposit with free credit. Excessive wear, tear, and mileage. By trade value plus tax, tag, title, and $995 document. Ends 5/27/2024.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling the show online, Joey Clark Live. 272-9228 if you want to get on the program. That's 272-9228. I see you head bobbing over there doing the funky bass there.
It's a funky groove you got going on there.
Yeah. I have like 5-6 different versions of that freaking song at this point. It is like the different iterations of where your mind's at.
You
and,
need to get you a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to find you a lady.
You trying to say
You
he's
and
got
Eddie.
too much time on his hands?
Just a SCO. She just sits at home with like a Casio
and slapping my bass.
in the Beat Lab.
Yeah.
See, that's how completely disconnected I am from the process of making music. I just picture him in front of a keyboard, like just moving knobs. Like I don't know how people make music. I don't know how it's done.
No, you play guitar.
You play guitar, but then you have to do
I
like
write
the
with guitar
looping. You have to
mostly.
do like the looping, and then you
Programming drums ain't hard.
Yeah, see, exactly. But you know, there's a lot of things that I do that people would think, oh, that's really hard. I'm like, no, it's easy. This is one of those things where
fair.
it's an enigma to me.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, and I need to get my my ass in gear and start recording.
All
more
right,
stuff.
so callers, listen in. We were trying to. This is the campaign to get Joey a lady.
No. Eddie's enough doing that. I don't need you doing that now.
You know what? We need to have like an event, like it'll be like a crawfish boil, and it could be for charity, and women have to buy tickets, and the prize is a dinner date with Joseph Clark.
I'm good on a dinner date. I'll admit that.
I bet, dude. I bet you pull out all the stops.
What do you mean?
Like I bet, like you'll open the car door, you'll take them to a nice spot, open it,
do
and
that
get them
anyway.
out.
That's just being polite.
No, that's my point. I feel like you're a very
And I've got used to hanging out with a lot of old men, so you got to check their footing.
You're a very gallant date, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, and I think one-on-one I can be a pretty good conversationalist. I have no game when it comes to just approaching a random stranger.
Like a cold approach.
Yeah, that girl's good looking. Joey, go talk to her. No, I have like nothing.
What
to
you
say.
have
Just got to plant your feet down, man. You and me.
Well,
but I'm that way with everybody. Like if I don't know, I'm very shy.
No, what you have to learn how to do is create the interaction. Like say if you're at a grocery store, like drop something towards her, and then you can apologize and then make something up like a funny quip. Because here's the thing.
I'm sorry I dropped my cottage cheese.
No, you hit her with something, for God's sakes. No, here's the thing that most people don't understand. The line between love and hatred for women is razor thin.
Okay.
Whereas opposed to men, it's the breadth of miles. Like if we hate you, we hate you, and if we love you, we love you, and there's really not much crossover there. But that's why when you have a woman and she has like a man that she's like really irritated at, it bothers you because you kind of fundamentally understand she's having an emotional reaction to this
and you're
person.
getting jealous. Yeah.
So if you're trying to pick up a woman, the goal is to create an emotion, and I don't care whether it's an emotion of infatuation, love, or hatred.
Okay.
It doesn't matter because it's all memorable. I will remember, my wife will tell you this story. When we were dating, I was very sweet, but every once in a while I would say something so utterly offensive. And then she didn't realize it until later, because I told her that was intentional, because I wanted to bother her. I wanted
Well, I do that naturally.
Well, I wanted her to exist for hours and hours that day, bothered by what I said, because you know why? She was thinking about me.
Oh, you're an evil genius.
Oh, I am an evil genius. That's what you have to do. It's like,
Does this check out, Byron?
I'm single, man.
Yeah, but I mean, you're hearing them like me. I'm single too, technically.
Going back to the women hating and everything, I think that line is pretty solid. I can say that much.
Okay.
As far as having a surefire method, I just go in and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
You know, you either have chemistry or you don't.
That's true.
You know,
that is true.
And it's also like, I hate, well, especially in this market, it's such a small town, the online dating apps are absurd. But beyond, say I lived in like a big city, the dating apps, you can't really tell a person, like how you present yourself and how you see another person. Like it's so different with online photos and some
you
know,
mean
text.
marketed and doctored up and all that sort
Yeah,
of stuff.
well, and also somebody might be objectively attractive or whatever and be a good person, but there literally is no chemistry there.
I've heard women talk about the 6 foot myth, and they say every guy that says that they're 6'1" on any sort of dating app, they're gonna be 5'11" when they show up.
Yeah,
without a fail.
Now maybe I should hop back on and be like, I am average in every way.
No,
That's
that
my lead point.
will get you somewhere. I can promise you. But
Honestly,
they've actually done meta analyses on this, and they found that despite all the bluster of women that talk about personality and love and blah, blah, blah. Typically the people that do well on dating apps are people that are shirtless in front of a really nice car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
so as much as women like to think that they're that they have depth and substance, they're just as shallow as just about everyone else.
Yeah, and that's the internet for you, the shiny thing.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, anywho, this is a campaign that I will be. Me and Eddie will work on.
See, every time
very
Eddie's
hard.
brought this up, an interesting thing happens. There are a lot of guys like you that want to help me out, and like, no, you'll be happier. You got too much time in your hands. All this stuff. You won't be happier, but like in the long run, the general, like a more sustainable long run happiness of taking responsibility, like pick up that cross and walk there.
Sounds romantic.
But I also get a bunch of guys that will message, text, be like, I've been through 3 of them. You stay strong, brother. Like the number of men who've been through multiple divorces, who lost half twice. Like I hear from them, a lot of them. So I'm not going to make a personal decision based on all that. But I do see, like, I'm not going to just jump into some random date. That seems a little silly.
Well, jumping into a random date is different than jumping into a random marriage.
That's true. That's true.
It's like, you know,
but that's how my mind works.
Yeah, I mean, you should go to a date with the concept of, oh, this is someone I want to spend the rest of my life with. But people making really poor decisions doesn't negate the beautifulness of an institution.
It's true. It only takes one.
It does only take one, and I sincerely did get very, very lucky. But at the same time, I there's nothing, you will never get me more irritated and have less respect for you as a human being when you start, like, if you're a married man and you start bad mouthing marriage and talking about how awful it is. It's essentially, to me, that's the same thing as a parent complaining about how awful their children are. It's like, it's almost like this is your responsibility.
Right.
I want to commend him. So, second person in probably the last week or two, new way that I'm starting to judge people. Heard a buddy of mine the other day say that he's starting to judge people by whether or not they're good parents, and to hear, the gentleman say whether or not you're a good husband and want to embrace marriage and what it, supposed to represent. Kudos to you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. But it is a legitimate thing where people, because there have been men and women both who they married someone who was one way and that person just completely fell apart, took the money,
Changes.
started sleeping around, doing all this kind of other stuff. And that does happen, and it's unfortunate. But most of the time when I find people are unhappy or unsatisfied in their marriages, it's because they don't put any effort into it. It's like, did you think that, hey, yeah, I get it that you like one another, but you've entered what is essentially a business relationship. Do you think that that's something that could be maintained happily without a level of effort? That doesn't mean that it's work. I love my wife.
and-
I want to spend more
Right.
time with her than anyone else. But at the same time, it's like, we had to work at that.
Yeah, no, and especially when kids come into the picture, you've made a commitment here. I don't care if you don't like each other.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's all sorts of people that I would die for, that on a day-to-day basis be like, I don't really like you. I don't want to live with you all the time, sort of thing. But yeah, there has been some cheapening of the institution of marriage ever since the laws were liberalized. And it's obvious.
Yeah, it is unfortunate too. Especially, like you said, especially when kids come in, because people are like, oh,
Right.
we're getting divorced and we have kids. It's like, oh, did he murder someone? Did you to what extreme thing did your partner do that created this very extreme thing? And so I'm just not happy anymore. It's like, oh, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care if you're happy. You have mouths to feed. You're the chef and you're complaining about the food.
Brother, if you don't get on this, though, you're going to reach that age where you're like me, and people are going to say, what's wrong with that dude? What?
Oh, I'm already there.
That's not because you don't have a wife. There's plenty of reasons.
That is true.
I knew you two would get along.
Of course we do.
272-9228.
Byron and Craig, we're taking over the show. No more Joey.
Yeah, no more
He's gonna be
Eddie.
too busy.
Yeah, he's going to be too busy with all these ladies calling him up.
Goodness gracious. Seems like a lot of work.
Good thing you got a long weekend, brother.
Yeah.
Speaking of long, well, it's funnily enough, Sunday is my anniversary, 6 years.
Well, congrats.
Wait, is it 6? Yeah, it's 6. Wait.
Congratulations.
Oh gosh, my wife is listening right now. Babe, text me. Is it our 6th or our 5th? I'm pretty sure it's our 6th.
It's a good way to get out of it. Ask her.
He
yeah.
remembered.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Oh, I'm impressed. Hey, let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Hola.
Hey, Eric. How you doing?
Yeah, we're doing all right. Joe, you take your time. You find you the right one. But I am with Craig. You got to find somebody that you can irritate the crap out of. Because I do that to my wife. Sometimes inadvertently and sometimes on purpose. Like, I'm not touching your face. I'm not touching your face. I'm not touching your face. That's how you bond sometimes. You don't have anything really to talk about. You're tired of messing with the grandkids and the kids and all that jazz. You just want to be mad, but you don't have a reason. So you give her one.
Also, it just keeps everything alive. Like, marriage can get sort of stale, the monotony. You wake up, the kids, the food, and this and that. Every once in a while, you just have to pick up the little squirty thing on the sink and just hit her with it. Just squirt her with some water. You get that emotional reaction. It's anger, but it's an emotional reaction, and it matters.
Right.
And it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. Irritating your spouse is one of the greatest parts about marriage. So again, intentionally and unintentionally.
Yeah, like leave the toilet seat up, and when she goes, you keep leaving the toilet seat up, you just look at her and go, you're welcome. Now you don't have to sit on a wet one.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking of you, baby.
For me, I intentionally leave the top of the Q-tip container off. It drives her insane.
Well, to the point you were making, Byron, it's not so much because I'm past that point of people are like, he's 35 and he's never had a girlfriend lasted longer than an Altoid, and it's like, is he, sugar in his tank, or is he just like so heartbroken from a past relationship it'll never be mended again? And that's one thing, but I don't know, I'm at the age where I see somebody young, like say I'm 35, somebody comes around and they're like 24, 25. I'm like, they have so much energy, so many hopes and dreams. They've yet to be truly disappointed. And like, that's like, I don't know if I could take that, watching them go through that disappointment that comes when life goes on.
Well, talk about the age disparity and, filling people out that way. One of the saddest days of my life, I saw a young woman, thought she was attractive, went up and hit on her.
Mm-hmm.
She referred to me as sir. And that's when I knew that I was in a different age demographic, and those days were long gone and behind me.
See, I think you're too black pilled on that. It's really good. Being an older gentleman it's very attractive, especially because if you think about it, say you're a 21-year-old woman and you're thinking about getting married, that biological clock is talking into your ear. If you go to someone your own age, especially with the absolutely deplorable stable of thoroughly unimpressive specimens that are young men that age, you really have to take a gamble. Because no one's established at 21 unless they're a freak of nature, in which case they're not going to date you. But you really have to you have to marry or potentially marry for potential if you want to marry your own age. Whereas if you marry someone 10 years older than you, you don't have to guess. They're either a loser or they're not. So being older, having a little bit of pocket money to maybe throw around, give her a few nice things. She don't care if if you look like Justin Bieber or not, you can take care of her. So lean into that. You too, Joey. Men age like wine.
Yeah, no, I like getting older. I'm enjoying that.
The older you get, Joey, you're also going to find out you got this problem where you're actually kind of half-ass smart. So when you go to talk to somebody, if they can't understand what you're talking to them about or talk to you deeper, on a meaningful level, you're going to lose interest. That's just a fact.
Well, I was about to say it's kind of what I do every day.
Yeah. You seem like the type who would get very irritated at a sort of ditzy or stupid young lady.
Well, no, I don't mind stupid. It's somebody who's stupid who thinks they're smart.
But you wouldn't be able to tolerate.
Yeah, I get bored real quick.
Yeah, that's the point. Because if you're trying to talk about, say, politics or music or whatever, and you just need like a slight bit of general world knowledge to comprehend, it seems like someone who lacks that would be not long in your world.
Right.
I mean, that's true across the board. People tend to hang out with people like relative same IQ as them, or within a range anyway.
Right.
What are Joey's? I love this. Joey seems uncomfortable.
Yeah, I am.
What are your needs? Like, I need this in a woman.
I need you like there for me, but not like in front of my face.
Dude, there when you want her. Okay.
Dude, hold on. I'm sorry. We're gonna finish this, but there was a comedian, Patrice O'Neill.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you're thinking. He says men want to be alone, but we don't want to be by ourselves.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Anywho, what else? What else do you need, Joseph?
Sex.
That helps.
Yeah, definitely that. I just really I need somebody to watch my stories with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude, me and the wife, that's literally 90% of our interactions is through reels that we see.
Yeah,
one
right.
another.
No, it's not. I don't honestly. I don't need anything. If anything, to be very serious for a moment, I would like somebody who can actually see me, not see the guys on the radio, not see the guy, the writing, whatever. Like actually sees me for all my crap, for all my flaws, and doesn't lord it over me. But that's, I think, the thing I miss the most is somebody who reflects you back and you can reflect them back and take responsibility for one another. That's what I need.
Yeah, that's so invaluable. Like, because you know me, not only am I do I have like a weird sprinkle of autism,
sure,
but just a complicated history. And a personality that's like, again, it's like autism mixed with brain damage from drug addiction. That's a weird hodgepodge to deal with. And having someone at home, especially someone as sweet as my wife.
Wait, he's got the tism and the booze?
Yeah, I do. Exactly. It's a weird combination. It's like peanut butter and jelly, except not.
Right.
It just they don't mend well. But
there's some pickle in there.
Yeah, it's
Right.
peanut butter and fish sauce. That's what it is.
Well, thanks, Eric.
Sorry, Eric.
Hey, just remember that love and like. Love ain't got nothing to do with like, and like ain't got nothing to do with love. Because if you're only in it for like and love and looks, you ain't going to be in it for long because those things go quickly.
True.
Trust me.
True.
30 years to go by before you bat your eyeballs.
There you go.
I feel like Craig needs
Appreciate it.
a segment on Saturday night, maybe about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, this guy.
With some Kavasi.
No, the more you learn his story, you right. His wife is a saint.
Yeah.
Well, most wives are with people that we hang out with. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, that's true. The political world is like, we're a little removed from it in media, but I can't imagine being the spouse of somebody in politics.
Definitely don't want someone in the same arena.
No. Like it's like somebody who's actually a candidate or a representative. Oof, there's a lot there. Like you got to share them with the entire world, and the entire world is nasty, man. Like, and you become partially like an attack vector too. If like people really want to go after your spouse, like, ugh.
I have
What a
seen
world.
some very upset spouses.
Yeah.
To the point that they wanted me to tell them where someone was so that they could go speak with them personally. Like, nope, you're not doing that.
And you're gonna make it worse.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the greatest things about my wife is because she was quintessential saint as a kid and growing up, like great family, everyone loved her, she was very talented, she always was good with children and teaching things. What she ever saw in me is just a mystery, like, because I was a bona fide degenerate. Now I did hide a lot of that from her, sorry for that again, love, but we've since rectified all that. But she is an absolute gangster. Like it's unreal, just not only just dealing with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that comes in life,
Shakespeare,
but also just the day-to-day stuff. And like she does a lot of homesteading. She couldn't cook anything when we first got together, and now she's making her own bread, and she's like growing herbs, and she has a garden, and we're building a chicken coop. I say she's building it. She is an absolute gangster. So for all the men out there who are like worried about finding, they do exist out there, and they are an absolute force multiplier because she takes care of the kids, she takes care of the home. I love her to death. She's incredible.
And if we're going to be nerdy with the Shakespeare references, the dynamic I always liked from the first time I read it when I was young is Much Ado About Nothing and Benedict and Beatrice. Yeah, where you seemingly hate each other.
Yeah.
But
isn't that the greatest exemplary of the point that I was making?
Yes,
It's like that right there. Because think about that when you were talking to kids, or when you were a kid, and maybe you had a feud with a little girl. Everyone says, "Oh, that's just because they like you," or that's because they have a crush on you. It's such a weird dynamic of human existence, especially with women. How thin that love-hate line can be.
Right.
But yeah, I've never actually put that together because, funnily enough, I've been watching Hamlet, Mel Gibson's Hamlet during cardio recently. But I really need to go back and watch Much Ado because that one with what's his face is just
Kenneth Branagh.
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I need to watch the Gibson Hamlet.
Have you seen it?
Watched either
No, because I've been stuck on the Brana Hamlet.
15, 20 years.
Yeah, you haven't watched any. You're not a Shakespeare guy.
I mean, the Romeo and Juliet. Watch it all the time.
Oh, you're going to watch the new one?
Who's in it?
With DiCaprio and that one?
Oh yeah, that's the one I like.
No, there's a new.
I couldn't take the '90s jump cuts. I couldn't. I tried watching that one. He
I
suggested
thought
it.
it was a cool cut, man.
I couldn't. Maybe I need to try again. I just couldn't do it.
You mean with Romeo? You
Yeah.
couldn't? Yeah, I mean, I've rewatched that one
It's
again.
so stylized '90s, and it's just like
It very much plays like Face Off with Nicolas Cage. The cuts.
now. If Nick Cage was playing Romeo, I might, it might work. But hey, I have to hit this break.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we're way behind here, folks. So we'll be right back.
Ladies,
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Rich Thomas Weather, brought to you by Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. It's time to get your cooling system ready for the long, hot summer. Call today about the advantages of the Clark Club membership to be sure you're covered. Call 277-2125. Better call Clark. Alabama certification number 09098.
On the unofficial start of summertime weekend, no surprises. There could be an isolated random storm somewhere in the area. Otherwise, partly cloudy, warm, overnight low 69. We will be in the lower 90s over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and even Memorial Day Monday. The heat index getting closer and closer to triple-digit levels, and maybe a few random pop-up hit-or-miss storms, mostly in the afternoon and evening hours each day, but that's routine. Lows at night in the low 70s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
John Bobo with Capital Tractor. Got a lot of jobs to do this spring? Save now on Kubota's BX23S tractor loader and backhoe combo at Capital Tractor and check off that to-do list. Powering Alabama, Kubota and Capital Tractor, Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
The Harriet 2 Riverboat has the perfect way to start your weekend each Friday with the Spring Dinner Cruise. Enjoy live entertainment as you dine on a delicious family-friendly dinner. Add your favorite beverage from the Cash Bar and dance the night away cruising the Alabama River. Get your family together and make it a family tradition. Boarding starts at 6:30 and cruise starts at 7. Book your cruise on the Harriet 2 now at funinmontgomery.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
The River Region's first and only News Talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. This entire hour has, in fact, been brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you whether you're looking to buy or refinance that home. Of course, when it comes to buying, they'll walk you through that process if you aren't aware of it, from pre-approval all the way to closing day. They've got your back. And if you're looking to refi, they'll help you with your strategy. A lot of good reasons to refinance that mortgage if you have equity built up. Could be you're looking to get debt off your back, in particular credit card debt. These APRs are, on average 29% APR on credit cards now? Ooh. Or you could be just looking to get on a different financial footing. Maybe you want to reinvest in your property or your family, yourself in some way. They can actually sit down with you, get to know you, your goals in refinancing or buying there at Alabama Home Mortgage. So give them a call today. That number, 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies like Kim and Madeline. Prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. So trying to get off the topic of my love life, Chelsea, I don't know if this is real. Putin offers ceasefire in Ukraine based on current front lines. It's from the Daily Mail, which makes me suspicious.
I saw a similar headline that said he was offering a ceasefire only because of the conscription.
Only because of the conscription?
Yeah.
Wait, whose conscription?
Ukraine's.
Okay. Well, here's the article. Russia's Vladimir Putin is ready to halt the war in Ukraine if a negotiated ceasefire that recognizes the current battlefield lines can be agreed, Russian sources claim. Three of the sources, familiar with discussions in Putin's entourage, told Reuters that the veteran Russian leader had expressed frustration to a small group of advisors about what he views as Western-backed attempts to stymie negotiations and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's decision to rule out talks. Putin can fight for as long as it takes, but Putin is also ready for a ceasefire to freeze the war, said another of the insiders, a senior Russian source who has worked with Putin and has knowledge of top-level conversations in the Kremlin. See, this seems a little too
Thin?
Yeah. And maybe so. Maybe Putin and them want a negotiation, but I don't see it necessarily. I think they want all of Donbass. They want that whole area, and with these latest movements towards Kharkiv, without many forces, some folks thought it would be the full-on invasion there is coming. No, it's more a smaller force where they were probing. But we'll see. We'll see.
He seems to be taking like a crock pot approach to this assault. Because honestly, I don't. If he wanted to just absolutely annihilate the region and sweep through Blitzkrieg style, he could have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it'd be very costly to everyone, but he could do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see. That could just be the Western press putting something out.
Yeah. But he also might be at a stage where he feels like he's made his damn point.
Yeah, that as well.
I mean,
So
he's
we'll
under
see.
political pressure too at home.
Yeah, of course. Even though St. Petersburg looks like it's doing just fine.
What gains would they have made in this? Russia, that is.
The major breakthrough, and they did this a while back, was they created that land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia.
Okay.
And they have been pushing through towns all throughout the Donbass region, and now they've started to push just north of Kharkiv.
Okay.
And so that is pulling Ukrainian resources to that part of the front. And so what I think the town they just broke through into, they've been trying, is Chasiv Yar. It's more in the Donbass area. So it's, there are plenty of open source maps you can read, folks, online, including the Institute of the Study of War, which tends to be more of the premier Western source. But you can look at all of them, and as you sort of assess the mean between all the different open source maps, you can get a sense of what's going on. My sense of this is it's World War I, except with drones. Like it is, you are not able to move very quickly. They're trying to come up with ways where they could get a blitzkrieg going, but right now these drones that are very cheap are able to destroy some very expensive equipment, not to mention lives. It really is changing the face of warfare. So I'm all for peace. If this is real, I hope they actually sit down and negotiate. I don't think it's real.
The new package, $275 million. I mean, I know that's not a beat, but I'm just looking at the
NDAA, is that what it is?
For the supplemental they just passed?
The supplemental.
Oh, and it's just specifically to Ukraine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, their state employees need paychecks, I guess.
Well, we got to hit this top of the hour break. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. And there at Cohen's, I'm a customer. In fact, it runs in the family. My dad bought a big screen TV, so I had to.
Yeah.
It was wish fulfillment, childhood wish fulfillment, but I justified it. I'm building credit. But I thought not just the product. I'm very happy with that Samsung TV. But the service they offer there at Cohen's is second to none. It's why they've been in business for 60 plus years, getting close to 65 now. They're just that good there in terms of installation. Or say you get a new washer dryer unit. What are you going to do with the old one? They'll take it off your hands. Maybe something comes up with the product. They're there to help repair it, get it fixed for you. They really are that good. So whether it's electronics like TVs, audio equipment, maybe you want to fill out an entertainment area with some brand new seating arrangements. Those captain's chairs are incredibly comfortable. Go try them out at their showroom, folks. Maybe you want a massage chair, or if you're looking to, say, build out a kitchen or you need a new washer dryer unit, they have all those appliances there at Cohen's. So you can always go to thinkcohens.com. That's thinkcohens.com. But I really encourage you to stop by the Boulevard, 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. Find Michael, one of his team members, and be sure to tell him that, well, Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. I believe Dr. Stuart Tankersley is outside door.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Police and a religious group say a U.S. missionary couple shot and killed by gangs in Haiti's capital who ambushed them as they left a youth group activity held at a local church. A third person also was killed in the community of Lausanne in northern Port-au-Prince. Idaho Democrats have selected Joe Biden as their nominee for the White House, giving the president more delegates after he had already clinched his party's nomination. Two abortion-inducing drugs could soon be reclassified as controlled and dangerous substances in Louisiana under a first-of-its-kind bill that received final legislative passage on Thursday. It's expected to be signed into law by the governor. The Dow had 29 points, the Nasdaq up 188. This is SRN News.
Biden has started tracking Christians like cattle. Yes, you heard it right. He pressured banks to tag transactions for certain keywords. One of them is Holy Bible. It's a horrifying and creepy attack on our religious freedoms. It's made possible by a digital financial system that makes you a sitting duck. But you do have other options. I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Wallnau, a news analyst, a best-selling author, and evangelical leader to people who cherish their financial independence. A precious metals IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of Biden's anti-Christian bureaucracy while also preserving your retirement savings. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text faith to 989898. There are no strings attached. So text faith to the number 989898 right now and take action to protect your own prosperity.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group. Selling a home in the river region in this market takes some planning and preparation to be successful. Here are some steps to take to get your home sold fast. Remember the 5 P's. Prepare the home, fresh coat of paint inside and out, and complete any repairs needed. Professionally clean the home. A deep cleaning of floors, cabinets, windows, and blinds will leave a great impression for future buyers. Provide a home warranty for the buyer to give the buyer peace of mind after the closing. Provide a closing cost allowance for the buyer to help them be able to afford your home. Price your home to sell, not sit. A comparative market analysis from a local realtor will demonstrate what other properties have sold for in your neighborhood. Well-priced homes sell faster with less hassle. Houses are selling fast and sellers are getting top dollar. For all the answers, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 221-2883 or 551-0225.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the river region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
Only one event in Montgomery saves and pays. It's the Memorial Day event at Lexus of Montgomery. This Friday through Memorial Day Monday, receive a $500 Amazon gift card with any new Lexus purchase. Drive the new Lexus IS300, only $463 a month. Plus up to $5,000 over book value for your trade-in. Memorial Day savings end soon, so rush to Lexus of Montgomery, part of the Sutherland Automotive Group. R5150706, 10,000 miles per year, 36 months with 4527 to 90 with approved credit. See dealer for full offer details. Offers expire 6/4/24.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
On the unofficial start of summertime weekend, no surprises. There could be an isolated random storm somewhere in the area. Otherwise, partly cloudy, warm, overnight low 69. We will be in the lower 90s over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and even Memorial Day Monday. The heat index getting closer and closer to triple-digit levels, and maybe a few random pop-up hit-or-miss storms, mostly in the afternoon and evening hours each day, but that's routine. Lows at night in the low 70s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Do you have big plans this summer? Dive into summer with an ASE Credit Union vacation loan. Whether you've got a trip coming up, projects at home, or just need a little extra cash, we've got you covered. So don't put your plans on hold. Visit yourasecu.com or stop by and see us today.
1819 News.
The Huntsville-Madison County Library Board made changes this week to its policies regarding the selection and display of children's books. That decision may end up costing the library system over $500,000 in state funding. The changes that were made by the board do not match up with the state guidance that was offered recently by the Alabama Public Library System. The APLS will ultimately have to follow through with their decision to connect guideline adherence to the state funds that are allocated to the Huntsville-Madison County Library System. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Schaefer with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
A bill offered by U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville passed out of its Senate committee with a unanimous vote, 22-0. The Poison Control Center's Reauthorization Act would provide funding of poison control centers throughout the U.S. for the next 5 years. Tuberville says that the Alabama Poison Control Center alone received 107,000 calls in 1 year, 2023.
Of the incoming calls to the Alabama Center, 85% of those were able to be monitored in the home, meaning those folks did not have to visit the ER.
The 200th year anniversary of Bienville Square in Mobile is today. There will be a big celebration that includes live music and food trucks along with the already established restaurants there. The city of Mobile itself is over 300 years old. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
Joey Clark.
Welcome to the final hour of News and Views in the afternoon. Or as we're calling the show online, Joey Clark Live. You can always like and subscribe there to Joey Clark Live on YouTube, or just follow me on Twitter X at the Joey Clark. And we kicked out Byron Sheehy here. And
that was a mistake.
Craig Monger's still here, but Dr. Stuart Tankersley now joining us. Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back. Good to see you guys. Great to meet you, Craig, in person.
Absolutely. Nice to see you, Doc. We've talked on the phone once or twice, collaborated on a few stories, and obviously I've read plenty of what you've written and said on the COVID pandemic and everything that subsequently came. So big fan, big fan.
By the way, your article this morning I sent to Dr. Merrill Nass, who is one of the leading voices in the world against what the WHO is doing, and she was very appreciative and sent it to several international organizations. So,
that's why it's doing so well on the website today. Yay! Thank you, Doc. I appreciate that.
It deserves it.
Well, I'm good to be making connections here. Everybody's meeting everybody today. But you, before we get into COVID stuff, some interesting stuff has come out. It is Memorial Day weekend,
Amen.
And it's good to remember the actual reason for Memorial Day. And this is, of course, to honor the fallen soldiers who have given their lives for this country. In a way, we were earlier talking about Patrice O'Neal, the comedian, and he, made the remark in a joke that, unfortunately, American holidays just become an excuse to fire off, fireworks and eat a hot dog or something. But it's good, especially now we get removed from generations that saw World War I, World War II, to remember the reason for this day. And you pointed me towards this Peggy Noonan op-ed that just came out.
today.
Yeah, tell folks, why did this catch you so much?
Right. It's a Wall Street Journal article she put out today. She was a speechwriter, I think, for Reagan, and she is. I think that the appropriateness of it on Memorial Day, Friday before Memorial Day, is wonderful because it talks about how we have really lost our way in so many regards in our country. She starts off the piece talking about love and how we are. We're really, unfortunately, what we're doing to our young people and not in teaching them about love of country is, and Victor Davis Hanson's written a book about it, Citizenship, recently, but we've got to get back to an understanding and appreciation, a thankfulness of our heritage, which is, I think, being discarded to all of our peril.
Well, and it isn't just because I love to live in my mind and my abstract ideals, and but I, especially as I get older, realize that ain't enough.
Right.
It's not about just loving, like, say, the ideals there in the Declaration or the Constitution or even the great speeches people give. It's like you love the people.
Right.
You love, say, the men serving with you.
Right.
And when somebody especially pays the ultimate price, it's not just this, again, abstract thing. It's like, no, I knew that man, and it's a shame he's not here anymore.
Yeah, I've unfortunately been in combat a few times, and we've been deployed. I've been deployed 3 times, and the young men that were at the forward post with me, just outstanding, just invigorating to be around them. And I think that unfortunately people dismiss them and what they stand for and what we represent. For the last maybe 15 years in our country, we've gone down this rabbit trail that's leading us to hell in a way, but we need to step back and understand that Memorial Day really does count, because so many millions. I think the number I wrote the numbers down before I came in. The number of killed in action in our country's history is, according to Wikipedia, 667,000. The number of people died in the war, so those are combat deaths. And then the 1,355,000 that have died plus that have died not of combat directly, but of while in service. You know, there are a lot of up until World War II, most deaths in war occurred were not combat deaths, but now with healthcare being much more readily available and on the spot, it's rare that somebody doesn't die of combat injury.
Yeah, and for folks who don't know, can you tell them a little bit what you did in the service? And you say you're being deployed, but what was your role?
I enlisted in '91 as a result of the Gulf War as a Cav Scout, and I really enjoyed that. It was a wonderful time in life, being out in the woods and doing what young men should do in a way. But then I was a doctor in the National Guard and was deployed 3 times, and so very proud of our state. Unfortunately, when the flag went up, as they say, when the Pentagon had a tasking, 3 or 4 states readily answered the call. Alabama has always historically been one of those states that's jumped at the opportunity. And for example, I've run into doctors from California and their National Guard, and less than half of them were deployed the last 20 years. And of the I think there were 8 or 10 of the doctors in Alabama in the National Guard, and all of us had at least 3 deployments. But that just goes to show that we have a patriotism here that is not everywhere. And unfortunately, I think the schools, what they're doing is really evil in every state, including our own. They're not teaching the fundamental importance of a love of country. And the heritage is worthy of that appreciation and thankfulness. And unfortunately, it's not being taught for the last 15 years or so.
Well, and I'm looking at this Peggy Noonan piece, and she starts talking about how she came across an old manual written by the legislature and passed in 1898. It required public schools to display the American flag and encourage patriotic exercises. And she goes on to ask the question, how do you teach a love of country to children? And she starts by then looking at this manual and what it was offering. It says, tell them the story of the American flag. The Continental Congress in 1777 said we need a national banner. Here enters the heroic Mrs. Elizabeth Ross of Philadelphia, known as Betsy, who on the personal request of General Washington started sewing. The stars and stripes from her hand were, quote, unfurled at the Battle of Brandywine in 1777. They sang their song of triumph over defeated at Saratoga. They saw the surrender of the enemy at Yorktown. They fluttered their goodbye to the British evacuating New York. And she goes on to say, have the children memorize and recite Longfellow's Paul Revere's Ride.
Yep.
Tell the story of the Mayflower and the meaning of the compact of the landing on Plymouth Rock. Remind the children, as Senator James G. Blaine once said, that the U.S. was long, quote, the only country with a known birthday. All the rest began they know not when and grew into power. They knew not how. America wasn't just some brute force that pushed up from the mud. We announced our birth with a declaration that was a quote-unquote revelation. All men are created equal. And yeah, I'm just reading here from this Peggy Noonan piece, and this is the sort of stuff that I don't think is being taught in public schools in particular anymore.
Right. It's not. It's intentionally. I mean, I saw my children's textbooks in the public schools here years ago, and I was amazed at the amount of pages that were devoted to nonsense. And they give short shrift to those to the heroic things of our country. And you know, an important part of all this goes back 100 years to Oliver Wendell Holmes when they started moving the concept of natural law theory out of our law schools. Thankfully, Faulkner Law School here in Montgomery is one of the 6 or 7 in the country that offer it as a class at their law school. But natural law theory, it's just common sense. There is fundamentally a right and a wrong. And if you try and negotiate away from that reality, good luck in the long term, because it's not going to work out well for you.
Well, and I would encourage folks to go look it up. I think it's a little expensive, but it's on Amazon. I have a signed copy. It was an honor to receive it, but Judge Napolitano just wrote a pretty scholarly, weighty tome. It's like 400, 500 pages. It's called Freedom's Anchor, and it's a exegesis of natural law. The history of it and how we've lost it now in the courts of modern day and how it should apply and why it is an appeal to the eternal and an appeal to heaven, which has got the left all up in arms this week with Justice Alito. That's where you see this shift in the culture where even in my lifetime, I always looked at something like the Gadsden flag or the Betsy Ross flag or an appeal to heaven, and it reminds me, maybe I'm deifying them too much, but of that generation. I never thought those symbols would be something divisive and toxic.
All right.
And yet that's how they're branded.
Yeah, this country was clearly founded by the Lord for his intent as Judeo-Christian principles. I think Newt Gingrich wrote a book about 10 years ago, and he was talking about, do you know how many men were under arms for the colonialists back at the Battle of Princeton, I think it was? There were 2,500 men under arms for our country, and there's no way you can explain how 2,500 men beat the world's greatest superpower at the time, the UK. It was clearly deliverance of the Lord, and George Washington has spoken about it. Spoke about it a lot back then. It was his providence that allowed this country to be founded, and for us to run away from that reality, I'm sorry, but Barry Hussein did not think that was the case, but still doesn't think it's President Obama, but they clearly don't want that to be a part of the narrative that is choked down our children's throats.
Well, and before we end this segment, I want to close off here with this Peggy Noonan piece, because I did not know this story in particular. And maybe it's because I'm light on Civil War history. I'm fairly good on World War II, and I like the ancient Greeks and Romans, and yeah. I've never done a deep dive with the Civil War, and I'd never heard this particular. She found this in this manual she just uncovered, and it brings up a lot of opinions on historical events. One I liked, writes Peggy Noonan, was the assertion that the Civil War ended the day Ulysses S. Grant was buried in 1885. Why? Because America saw who his pallbearers were. Quote, Johnston and Buckner on one side of his bier, and Sherman and Sheridan upon the other. The first two were generals of the Confederate Army, the last two of the Union Army. Henry Ward Beecher wrote that their marching Grant to his tomb was, quote, a silent symbol that liberty had conquered slavery and peace war. You come away from this vignette, writes Peggy Noonan, thinking not only what men, but what a country. It could tear itself into, murder itself, forgive itself, go on. Parents, help your children love this country. It will be good for them. And more to the point, this country deserves it. Also, when you don't love something, you lose it. We don't want that to happen. Thank you for pointing this.
Yeah,
to me.
amen. Yep.
Henry Ward Beecher, man. That's a minute since I've heard him.
Well, and Reagan had some great speechwriters. Like, I've watched a lot of Peter Robinson's show. What the guy's freaking great. His command of not only the language, Peggy Noonan, though. This is sort of a reminder of all those great, because Dan Morris, we played all the time on his show around this time, of all the great Reagan Memorial Day speeches. They really were not like anything else. He was called the great communicator for good reason. But here, we got to hit this break. More news and views in the afternoon when we come back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Get ready, folks. It is back June 1st. One day only this year. It's from 10 until 7 o'clock. There will be lots of Greek food cooking demonstrations. It's the Greek Big Cookout coming up this weekend on Saturday, June number 1. One day only this year. It happens every year. You don't want to miss it. But this year, one day only, June the 1st. This year, it is going to be from 10 until 7. The Greek Orthodox Church, you know how good it is, so we will see you there.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our number one goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
This year has had some pretty good sales, but nothing in Montgomery tops this one. It's the Memorial Day event at Toyota of Montgomery, our only event where you get paid to save. Friday through Monday only. Buy any new Toyota and get a $500 Amazon gift card. Plus, absolutely incredible once-a-year leases on the new 2024 Corolla LE. $199 a month. New 2024 Camry LE. $290 a month. Trade in your old car and get up to $5,000 over book value for your trade. This is the sale you've been waiting all year for, and it's only happening through Memorial Day Monday. There's no better time to drive home a new Toyota. And for the first time ever, you're getting a $500 Amazon gift card. It all ends Memorial Day Monday. Rush to Toyota of Montgomery today or shop online now at toyotamontgomery.com. Part of the Sutherland Automotive Group.
Gift card while supplies last. Gift card cannot be combined with other special offers. Corolla LE TSRP 24, $183. Camry LE TSRP 30,364. 12,000 miles per year for 36-month lease with $5,999 due at signing. $0 security deposit with free credit. Excessive wear, tear, and mileage will affect trade value plus tax, tag, title, and $995. Ends 5/27/2024.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich
On the unofficial start of summertime weekend, no surprises. There could be an isolated random storm somewhere in the area. Otherwise, partly cloudy, warm, overnight low 69. We will be in the lower 90s over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and even Memorial Day Monday. The heat index getting closer and closer to triple-digit levels, and maybe a few random pop-up hit-or-miss storms, mostly in the afternoon and evening hours each day, but that's routine. Lows at night in the low 70s. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm looking forward to having the long weekend, selfishly, but also good remembering the reason we have the day off here. And again, we have Craig Monger still here. How you doing, Craig?
Oh, I'm doing quite well. How are you?
It's good to see you. And Dr. Stuart Tankersley also here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we started by talking about how we need to foster a love of country in children, but I think in everyone, remind them of the good of America, because I'll be blunt. When I look at modern American history, I'm not real enthused, and I guess it's a distinction to draw. Like, our institutions right now, I think, deserve to be hated and burned down. Sorry, not sorry. In a way, it's almost like I feel like the things and the stories of the actual men and women of this country are being betrayed by our current institutions. And this seemed to really come to light, especially during the COVID regime. Yeah, we've talked about this before, but how unrepentant people are, and I use that word advisedly, how unrepentant people are, especially when we see these emails, right, that were just uncovered about Fauci and his aides.
Yep. Dr. David Morans is one of his top lieutenants, and then, of course, the wonderful news that came out last week with Peter Daszak. Peter Daszak is the guy in charge of EcoHealth Alliance out of Chapel Hill. I used to like Chapel Hill. Now I even put Duke ahead of him, but Chapel Hill was the place where they did a lot of the gain of function research. I think our legislature needs to write a law that cannot happen within our sovereign territory. But anyways, Daszak was the guy that offshored it to Wuhan, and his bombastic, antagonistic kind of approach to the hearing, the congressional hearing a week or two ago, was really surprising. And then, thankfully, the Congress passed a law that his company will now stop receiving any funds going forward. Never again will he receive federal funds, and any contracts that are ongoing right now will stop, and we will not pay another dime to his organization. And then, of course, this week, I think Monday, David Morans, who is one of his top lieutenants, what a goofball, he admitted his emails were, well, we knew all this was happening, but he said in his emails that we need to, my lady here that works for me told me how we can avoid FOIA requests, and we need to go with our personal emails. And he's confronted by even the Democrats. Finally, in the last couple of weeks, the Democrats on this committee have started turning on the witnesses and asking the real tough questions. And I think the summation statement was made by a congressman from Maryland, Democrat, who said, Dr. Morans, I think your testimony today will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Wow.
It was powerful, and I think he's exactly right. But these people that have done this to our country, well, it's not just, I've said this, I've spoken all the way from Alaska to Florida in many, many venues. And by the way, our podcast, which is America Out Loud Pulse, in talking to the the producer 6 weeks ago. He said that we had moved up to almost the top 1% of health podcasts with over 500,000 listens a month, which is grace of the Lord. But the truth is getting out. The reality is nobody wants any more of these shots hardly. You know, if you're up to date on your shots, COVID shots, you will have received, I think 8 is the number by now. But hardly anybody's doing that, thankfully. But our culture, the culture in D.C. has betrayed us. Why? Because the culture has betrayed us. Why? Because the churches have betrayed us. I think the most important book in my lifetime was written a year and a half ago by a guy named Eric Metaxas, who's written many internationally best-selling books. 12 years ago, he wrote the biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a priest in Germany. And he brings that to this small book that is titled Letter to the American Church. And to me, it's the most important book of my lifetime because it gets to the heart of how can science be so broken? How can our government be so depraved? How can all of these really institutions that were founded on such good principles, how could they have been abandoned? And the answer is the priests, preachers, and rabbis are following the same lead as that of the priests in Germany in the 1930s. There were 18,000. 3,000 were supportive of the Nazis. 3,000 were opposed, and 12,000, whatever. And of the 3,000 that opposed, Hitler killed 700 of them in 1935. But this is where we are, and the answer, as you alluded to, for all of us, is repentance. And I was so proud of Mr. Metaxas's approach because it's biblical and it's historically based, and it is so obvious as to what the answer is that the preachers, priests, and rabbis need to repent, show us how to do it, and demand that we do it. And once that happens, all this insanity is going to fall like the Brits did to 2,500 Americans.
Yeah, and Metaxas is fantastic. I love his Socrates in the City series that he does, and I almost thought, like, can't we get something like that going here in Alabama? It'd be a nice venue to bring people down to have those same sort of conversations. But as you were talking about that, and I still need to read that book he just put out there. Off air, we were talking about how lately there's a guy who's more of a skeptic, agnostic, but his podcast's fantastic. He's actually one who's well-read in theology and doesn't attack everybody. He's sort of grown up on the internet, named Alex O'Connor, and he's recently been interviewing people about the apocryphal or Gnostic Gospels. I bring this up to say, when you look at the belief systems that were driving the creation of COVID in the lab, or you look at some of these more heady promises of where AI can take us, where the punchline ends up, we're going to make a new god out of silicon. You're starting to get into a territory of man is not important. We're a bridge to something else. And that strikes me as going back to heresies or ideas that were there at the beginning of the church, and somehow they've found inroads in our major institutions to where we're so creative we can essentially play God. Right. And if somebody gets hurt along the way, well, that's the price of us trying to achieve our goal here.
Right. The life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That was the founding 3 ideas that held a lot of sway then. And now I've run into this concept the last 3 or 4 years in digging into what's going on with COVID is that these people genuinely think that we have too many people on the planet. It's this Malthusian evil that has permeated throughout these depraved fools has really sunk into a way that, the concept, the idea that I have the capacity to think that there are too many people on the planet, where does that idea even come from? Clearly from the pit of hell. The problem is a lack of love between people, and that's what Peggy Noonan started her article off with, is love. And we need to get back to it because it's destroying us. And life, these people clearly want less of it. Liberty, obviously, this WHO thing is a clear indication of the destruction of freedoms. Freedom is the ability to put responsible constraints on yourself. Freedom is the application of, liberty is the application of freedom. And then the pursuit of happiness. Does anybody think that AOC or anybody in Biden or any of these people really want the rest of this country to flourish in happiness?
Right.
Their policies clearly don't indicate that.
Well, and also the happiness doesn't come from the material.
Right.
Like some of the people that are, technically in poverty in other parts of the world seem to be much happier than us in developed countries in a lot of ways.
Right. And look at, the Alabama legislature was led by Ledbetter this year. The whole legislature, like Senator Orr said, the oxygen was taken out of the room for one issue. Does gambling make people happy? It destroys the communities. The evidence is overwhelming. And whether it was Trump's Atlantic City or wherever, all of this destruction that occurs at the personal level, if you want to go gamble with your buddies or play, blackjack with your buddies or whatever, knock yourself out. But for the state to be in the business like this, it's just depravity, and it does not promote happiness. I would assume Ledbetter somebody needs to ask him, how does your gambling ideas promote happiness? Because clearly he's lost sight of the fundamentals.
Well, and you bring up Malthus, and for folks who don't know, Malthus is a contemporary of Adam Smith,
right?
And Malthus had this basic idea, folks, that essentially every society in human history he had known, that he had studied, once it reached a certain, it only had a certain amount of carry capacity. So you could only carry so much of a population based on your food sources and your production and all that. And he said, once you reach a certain point, you get upside down and your society's going to crumble. So it needs to be managed. The population particularly needs to be managed. Adam Smith had a different idea. And I think
flourishing.
Yeah. And it actually worked.
Yep.
It was the first time in human history, economists call it the hockey stick,
right,
where most of human history, you see a little bit of a point up during Rome, some Chinese eras, they get a little prosperous, but nothing like we have today. And it's not because of the resources in the ground. It's actually unlocking, for lack of a better word, the human spirit.
That's right.
And
Amen.
respecting the average person to have a go.
Which is what our country was founded upon.
Yeah.
Amen.
And there's something that we've lost that ability to see, okay, when you have more people, yes, you have more mouths to feed, but you also have more minds and hands and people with ability to feed those mouths, to make bread. And it's not just bread alone. Like there's something about when you see, like Reagan in his speeches talks about it, I think, alluding to Churchill, that when we move in the world with great events, we're spirits. Like there is something immaterial that drives us forward, and instead we keep coming back to why does a 18-year-old shoot a 16-year-old in the streets of Montgomery? Is it because of poverty, home life, all these other, or maybe people are making the wrong choices and being encouraged to make the wrong choices?
And a culture, a government that incentivizes the loss of the family unit, which is central to any successful, flourishing culture. And just to kind of highlight this before we go to the next segment on the loss of life, I've said this before. I said it in one of the articles a couple of months ago in 1819 News. This is off of the Economist website platform, Our World in Data. Between January of 22 and September of last year, a 21-month period, the United States had 652,000 excess deaths. Now let's relate that back to what I mentioned earlier, the 666,000 men who have died in combat since the start of this country. We are in the greatest die-off in our country's history. Our culture clearly, or our government at least, clearly does not love life. And that's what we need to get back to.
Yeah, and on that note, let's hit another break. We'll be right back, folks. But actually, going out of this, got thinking about Reagan, and this makes the point in more of a down-home way. Let's listen in together.
A modern-day little red hen may not appear to be a quotable authority on economics, but then some authorities on economics aren't worth quoting. About a year ago, I imposed a little poetry on you. It was called The Incredible Bread Machine, and made a lot of sense with reference to matters economic. You didn't object too much, so, having gotten away with it once, I'm going to try again. This is a little treatise on basic economics called The Modern Little Red Hen. Once upon a time, there was a little red hen who scratched about the barnyard until she uncovered some grains of wheat. She called her neighbors and said, "If we plant this wheat, we shall have bread to eat. Who will help me plant it?" "Not I," said the cow. "Not I," said the duck. "Not I," said the pig. "Not I," said the goose. "Then I will," said the little red hen, and she did. The wheat grew tall and ripened into golden grain. "Who will help me reap my wheat?" asked the little red hen. "Not I," said the duck. "Out of my classification," said the pig. "I'd lose my seniority," said the cow. "I'd lose my unemployment compensation," said the goose. "Then I will," said the little red hen, and she did. At last it came time to bake the bread. "Who will help me bake bread?" asked the little red hen. "Oh, that'd be overtime for me," said the cow. "I'd lose my welfare benefits," said the duck. "I'm a dropout and never learned how," said the pig. "Well, if I'm to be the only helper, that's discrimination," said the goose. "Then I will," said the little red hen. She baked 5 loaves and held them up for her neighbors to see. They all wanted some, and in fact demanded a share. But the little red hen said, "No, I can eat the 5 loaves myself." "Excess profits," cried the cow. "Capitalist leech," screamed the duck. "I demand equal rights," yelled the goose. And the pig just grunted. And they painted unfair picket signs and marched round and round the little red hen, shouting obscenities. When the government agent came, he said to the little red hen, "You must not be greedy." "But I earned the bread," said the little red hen. "Exactly," said the agent. "That's the wonderful free enterprise system. Anyone in the barnyard can earn as much as he wants. But under our modern government regulations, the productive workers must divide their product with the idle." And they lived happily ever after, including the little red hen, who smiled and clucked, "I am grateful, I am grateful." But her neighbors wondered why she never again baked any more bread. I guess a lot of us have been wondering something like that. This is Ronald Reagan. Thanks for listening.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby likes it.
Hey, if you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor or your current zero-turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time for you to look at a Hustler zero-turn lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on that cheap unit. With flimsy stamped decks from the big box stores, go to Deatsville Ace Hardware and they'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. Find them at Deatsville Ace Hardware, US 31, just north of the Pine Level exit.
Hey guys, are you looking for a professional and reliable tree service company in the Montgomery and surrounding areas? Well, check out the folks at Tree Masters. It's a name you know and trust. From pruning to full tree removal, they'll even help you remove your shrubs. They service all of Central Alabama, including Lake Martin and Lake Jordan. Call them for a free quote today at 334-676-3638. That's 334-676-3638. Tree Masters.
Hi, I'm Paul Doe. Me and my wife Jessica own the Seafood Bistro over here in Perry Hill and Carmichael. We've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting for going on 3 years now. It has been a great turnout. It's been a pleasure partnering with a local company like Blue Water. And if you have your own business, I suggest teaming up with a partner like Blue Water Broadcasting. It's a local company that helps local businesses.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
The owner's engaged. We like the concept. I know we can sell it. And here's why. If it's working well in one community, then it'll work well in other communities or markets of like kind.
Bernie Juno is on the search for franchisable businesses, and if he finds one he likes, he's going to help it get to the next level, or he'll die trying. Listen to What's Working Saturday noon, or find us online at what'sworkingcam.com.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
At Guardian Credit Union, we believe that banking should be personal, just like the relationships we build with members. Imagine a place where you're not just a credit score, but a valued part of our community. At Guardian, our dedicated team takes the time to listen, understand, and tailor financial solutions that fit your unique needs. From buying a car to saving for college and even starting a small business, we've got you covered. Come experience the Guardian difference and let's achieve your financial goals together. Guardian Credit Union, where you belong. Federally insured by NCUA.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. It's News and Views in the afternoon. Final segment here on a Friday, kicking off the Memorial Day weekend. I'm Joey. Craig Monger's still here. How you doing, Craig? I'm doing well. And Dr. Stuart Tankersley also here in the studio. Before we keep going here, gentlemen, close out the show. This part of the program brought to you by Prattville Carpet. And they're at Prattville Carpet. They're ready to help you with any resurface deal. And it's not just carpet, though. They have incredible carpeting product there. Stuff, the new tech is pretty awesome. So if, have children, dogs, or you're prone to spilling things, it's not the end of the world. It comes out of this new stuff. But, of course, they can also resurface with traditional hardwood. The laminate products are now great, luxury vinyl plank. Or even if you're looking to redo the kitchen, maybe the countertops or the backsplash, or renovate your bathroom, they have ceramic tile options. And what's beautiful with Prattville Carpet is not only their great product, they'll come to you, go the extra mile, a free in-home measurement. So they'll measure, see exactly what you're trying to resurface and accomplish. And when you pick out that product, they'll know exactly how much it's going to cost, how long the job is going to take. So give them a call today, 285-8117. That's 285-8117. And be sure to tell them that you heard about them here from that Joey fella on the radio. Now, I usually say at the final segment, Doc, that what did we learn today? Well, we learned that Craig is trying. Now, Eddie's been doing it every day. Now Craig's trying to be like, Joey, go get a woman or something. You have too much time on your hands.
You do, though.
I feel betrayed by you.
Well, you don't feel betrayed. I want to share. I'm happily married. I want to share my joy with you.
Fair enough. I get it.
It's going to be an awesome, wonderful lady.
Yeah.
Well,
She's going to have to learn more about Nietzsche than she ever wanted to, but
No, I guess we'll figure it out.
Have you heard Aquinas' theory on natural theology?
Well, we also learned today that Trump was in old Trump form. Did you see any of that Bronx speech that he gave?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, he was in classic Trump form.
Yeah, he was.
Like, absurd stuff, but also the crowd just was eating
dancing.
it up.
He was dancing.
Yeah, there's something about him being in New York. He was so happily retelling the story of getting that ice rink done That skating rink, he was over the moon talking about himself.
Now, is this the group? Is this the speech he gave in front of 100,000 people?
Or no, that was in New Jersey, I think, recently.
Yeah, that was a while back.
But this was tens of thousands for certain in the South Bronx, which surprised a lot of folks.
Yeah.
So, it's great seeing Trump in rare form. I at times think, well, he is kind of behind. Well, here, I'll give an example. This was more a silly example, but this was Trump in the Bronx yesterday evening. If this computer will cooperate, let's listen in.
It's huge.
Oh, God, mercy. That man never ceases to be entertaining, and that's really what you want in a president.
Right.
Entertainment.
Yeah, so
if he's entertaining, he's not breaking something, which is what mostly they do.
Right. Well, and it's interesting to see that this is going to be the campaign. I'm not sure if it's actually going to reach the depths of what we were trying to discuss here this hour. I think it is going to be a circus.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be a circus, let's at least have it, to your point, be entertaining.
Let's see what happens when the decrepit bumps up against the bombastic.
Right.
That's the story of this campaign.
Right. Well, and I mean, one thing we learned actually in the last few weeks is for instance, I saw Speaker Ledbetter's op-ed that I'm sure was on every media site, but 1819 News where I read it. And yes, they got some things done during the session that were good.
Mm-hmm.
I love the school choice thing. A lot of the tax credits, great. Making it more livable here in Alabama for veterans and military families. Cool. But
they got the state health officer under an elected official now. That's a good thing.
It's a good progress of a kind on the margins.
Right.
But it does, to your point you made earlier, there's a bad taste still in my mouth of how much time was chewed up with gambling, that last second move to change ethics laws in the state. It just seemed like as much as they did good things, we're still dealing with the same boys club, for lack of a better word, over there.
Yeah, I think that Jeff and Brian did a fantastic job this week in their interview where Jeff clearly laid it out. Gambling's illegal, yet they were in charge of the legislature even as they were illegal.
Yeah.
If this passes, you don't think they're going to run it? I mean, they're going to make Paul Hubbard and AA look like child's play if they get in charge, because these elected officials have never seen this kind of money that's going to pour into their coffers if they play ball with them. And the idea that don't forget that the Medicaid expansion was a big part that was not spoken of.
Mm-hmm.
That was tucked into the bill, and that, of course, is right down the wish list, the number one on the wish list of the Hospital Association, which has been the biggest mule in the state the last 4 years, obviously, with the destructive, awful COVID response that has killed and destroyed so many. But the good news is that they didn't get it passed, and good Lord willing, we've learned our lesson to avoid this gambling lobby that will destroy any sense of propriety in our government.
Well, and I have to admit something to you here. Now, you called me one night not too long ago and asked me to look into ethics, and I read your exit interview and all that. But I have to admit, my mind went to just like, if we want to make the government more ethical, just get rid of the government. Like, let's just start over. Maybe we rebuild some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, it becomes, well, it's lawyers doing their job essentially, and it's just frustrating that when I think of the people and the values of the state of Alabama, it should be easy to go in the right direction, and yet somehow the people that run the state, so-called ruling class in this state, they're out for their own interest.
Right. It's not selfless service like we are, hopefully, like, selfless sacrifice for others. Agape love is the preeminent type of love that Noonan is talking about love in her article today. These are not, unfortunately, way too many are not selfless servants.
Right. Well, I think, in my humble opinion, that comes with the territory with politics.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have to. Not necessarily.
It doesn't have to, but, rain doesn't necessarily follow clouds, but, nonetheless.
Right, but we've had people that were public servants. Lister Hill came home after serving as, I think, one of the most, certainly in the 20th century, the most prominent elected official in our state for the whole century. He did not come home wealthy. Unlike Shelby, he did not come home wealthy. He just served the people.
Well, I appreciate your time. I really do.
Thank you so
'cause
much
we're
for having me.
pretty much out of time. You too, Craig.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good Memorial
I've
Day
enjoyed
weekend.
not having to entertain the masses for the past 20 minutes. I just get to listen. It makes me very happy. Like to listen, Joey.
Yeah, you're a trip, man. You're a piece of work over there. Anyway, I got to get out of here.
I love you more.
Happy Hour with Greg Bedell. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.